Hey guys, I'm gonna give it some time before I start discussing what's going to be discussed today. I'm just gonna give it a couple of minutes just to see if a few people get on here. Hopefully, a few people get on here. I've been off of YouTube. I've been off of podcasting for quite some time now. It's been about a week, which when you're a YouTuber, when you're a podcaster, that's like almost an eternity. So we're just gonna give it a little couple of seconds and see what happens from there, and just go from there. Just give it some time, see what happens. Go ahead if you guys are joining on and get into the comment sections and let me know. Oh, we have a few comments. Okay, so this is going to be a weird episode, you guys. So I'm going to be lunging over because I got a touch screen here. My mouse isn't working, so I'm going to be lunging to get everything going. So I see I have a viewer, got a comment coming in here. So let's see what we have. Oh, hi, Celine. So we have a hey, hello to you too. We have another one from Celine. I voted early for Donald Trump, safe to say. I personally, I'm doing the voting in person. I'm not mad at the early voting, specifically because Lara Trump is the one who is like been making sure that everything was going well today, making everything sure that everything's going well with the election as far as early voting goes. So that is a good thing. Very happy about that. That she's the one making sure that the early voting is going well. So if you are an early voter, that's a good thing because the numbers are looking really good for President Trump right now. So that's a pretty amazing thing. I can't wait to see what happens after the day starts. Okay, so you guys, for today, we're going to talk about a few things. The election is coming up. It'll be going down on Tuesday. Tuesday is the deciding day for what is the future of the United States of America. It's going to be the futures of what's going on with us as the American people. So definitely looking forward. We have another comment coming in from Celine. When I ask voters of why they are voting for Kamala, all they can say is because Trump is bad. Nothing about what she brings to the table. Yeah, that's generally how it goes. No one ever really has an answer. I had a whole debate with a family member of mine, and they couldn't tell me why they wanted to vote for Kamala Harris, except, oh, she's for the unions. Okay, well, then explain to me why you have union leaders endorsing President Trump. You have to explain that you're voting for Kamala because of the unions, but unions are endorsing President Trump. Not all of them. Obviously, we know why the Hollywood unions are not endorsing him. But the ones that actually provide real products and services to the American people, they are the ones who are endorsing President Trump. So, for someone who works in construction, I don't understand why you're not endorsing President Trump. Hey, that could just be me, but I do think it is something. The election goes down on Tuesday, so I intend to go live. We're going to follow the screens. I remember watching the screens in 2020 and I saw numbers changed. I remember following the election laws. The wrong branch of government here in Pennsylvania was passing election laws, which shouldn't have been the case. You guys know what I think about 2020. Rigged up the Owazu. So definitely concerned about how that's going to play out. However, I will say I don't think they have the same plausible diversion with Kamala Harris that they had with Biden, like at all. Biden was believable for a lot of Americans. To say why he won the election and not Trump was because he was perceived as the moderates. Now, obviously, we know as the time went on in his, what do you want to call it, his presidency, false presidency, in my opinion, that he was obviously far left. This was quite obvious to me, to a lot of other Americans. And the reason why he was able to be believed as the president of the United States was because he was the moderate, right? And you don't have that with Kamala Harris, not with her voting record, not with her record as the vice president, not with her record as a senator. She was always far left. It's quite obvious to me that that's who she is. And she's trying to clean that up with her campaign. It's obviously not working, especially with men. Whether you're talking about black men, white men, it's just not working. We have another comment from Celine. I just love you, Celine. Thank you so much for getting in the comments. I definitely appreciate you. So let's see what we have here from Celine. All most women can talk about is abortion when there are so much bigger issues at stake that women are affected by. Yeah, the economy is one of them. One of the biggest reasons why women who support abortion have them is because they can't afford them. It's like, well, if you can make the money to take care of your child, then there's no need to abort the baby. There's the country, Hungary, where they didn't ban abortion. They just made the economy better, and they saw the abortion rate go down tremendously. You make it easier for the woman to take care of herself and the child, she's more likely to keep the child. Now, call it moral instinct, doesn't, it matters obviously in the eyes of God, but for the eyes of that individual, it's because I can afford the baby, why I'm not going to murder it. So, hey, we do better with the economy, that might do something. I think you have a lot more women today focused on their selfish needs. Not to say that men aren't, but I do think that men are more preoccupied with being providers. They know they need to make money, so they make money for themselves and other people. You have another comment from Andrew. Evening. Evening to you too, Andrew. Thanks for being here. Happy to have you here. So yeah, I do agree with you, Celine. Most women are focused on, I think, the wrong things. Nuclear annihilation is definitely on the ballot, or at least trying to prevent nuclear annihilation. That is on the ballot. And so what good is abortion if we're all dead anyway because we end up in nuclear war, right? So there are way other subjects, way other issues that we could be talking about as women. Obviously, I being a woman, talking about other issues. I think there are way other things that are worth discussing than talking about abortion. Now, if you're the person who supports abortion, that's between you and the big guy. You know what I think? I'm pro-life all day. I do not approve of the death penalty. I don't approve of abortion at any stage. I'd like an abortion ban entirely, not from the federal government. If we want to have a constitutional convention and make it a part of the Constitution itself, then that's something that pro-lifers should consider doing. Beyond that, I just not a big supporter. But there are way other things to be discussing in this situation. Now, there are a few things that I wanted to discuss today. Obviously, the election being one of them. It's coming up. Kamala Harris completely just decided not to go to the Joe Rogan interview. She decided to sit down with Club Shay. That didn't have the same numbers. She probably thought she was going to get the same numbers that Trump got on Joe Rogan, which I don't know why she did. First of all, you just got to go off of what the numbers are. Before Joe Rogan had President Trump, he was like the number one podcaster in the world, right? That's just facts about Joe Rogan's podcast. This is not a guy that you would say is a conservative. He's more liberal. He's common sense, right? So just being a common sense individual makes you not someone that the status quo of the left supports, right? But hey, he's got most of the views. And the reason for that is because I think it's because Joe Rogan is the first podcaster that everybody really knows. Obviously there was Glenn Beck, but no one really trusted the internet thing is what they called it. Joan Rivers tried it as well when she created In Bed with Joan. People were suspicious of that, not of Joan, but of the idea that she's going to the internet. But yet it got tremendous numbers, right? She was able to make money from that. Joe Rogan was obviously able to make money from that. He got a contract from Spotify. So without President Trump, Joe Rogan was like number one. With President Trump, his numbers skyrocketed. He beat all of the leftist mainstream media. He beat Fox News, which is really not surprising at all, but he was able to beat them as well. We saw the same thing when it was President Trump and Tucker Carlson. He's got better numbers with these independent hosts on their podcast than he does than the mainstream media has just on an everyday basis. They will talk about Trump. They'll talk about everything under the sun when it comes to Trump, why they think he's a Nazi, why they think he's a racist, but they won't ever talk about the actual numbers that he's bringing in. And it can't be because this man is a racist. It can't be because he's a Nazi. There's just no way. When you look at how many people came to the Madison Square Garden rally, where are all the protesters? In 2016, you had over 150,000 people protesting against his win. Where are those same 150,000 people? There were way more red hats in support of President Trump. Now, can we say that means New York is going to turn red? I don't know. It's quite possible that they're cheating. We could say that. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I think Lee Zeldin won this, but, I think Lee Zeldin won the governorship, but the cheating, it's hard to say what's actually the case. But even if he doesn't get New York, I think Trump's got this in the bag anyway. We have someone here with a comment. Trump has this by Mark. Definitely. We're here. Definitely. He's got this, right? Kamala Harris is not a plausible diversion. She's not moderate enough to convince any of us that she can beat President Trump. They had it with Joe Biden, right? Now, if you're anything like me, you know what happened in 2020, right? It's because he was the plausible diversion why it was hard to convince people that this was stolen. Right? You had people like Megyn Kelly. There was no cheating. Then she was saying, okay, there was cheating, but not enough to change an election. Okay, but if you just went from there was no cheating to now there is cheating, Why am I supposed to believe that not enough cheating to change the outcome of an election? When the wrong branch of government is passing election laws, that happened in the state of Pennsylvania. That's the first thing. Then you had ballots being pulled out from under the table. That happened in Georgia. Then they stopped counting ballots in some states because pipes were bursting and there was way too many problems for this to be a coincidence. For this to be a coincidence during an election season. You're telling me you couldn't check these pipes? You're telling me you couldn't have the heat running just to make sure the pipes couldn't burst? This seems a little bit of a coincidence. No, sorry, but I'll give you one problem. But 3, 4, now this seems like a plot. 2020 was suspicious up the wazoo, but you had a plausible diversion with Biden because he appeared to be a moderate. Kamala Harris is not that. And she goes on Club Shay and this was laughable because she was invited to go to Joe Rogan. And before she was even invited to sit down with Joe Rogan, she sat down or was invited to sit down with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey said, this isn't an endorsement of any political party. I want to sit down with both candidates just to talk about the economy. Trump went. And on that interview, what did Trump say? Yeah, she's not coming to your show. She's not going to sit down with you. She's not going to answer any of the tough questions. She's not. Dave Ramsey is a financial, one would say guru, right? A financial coach, call him what you want. He is a financial personality, and he's been doing this for over 30 years. He has survived good economies, bad economies, and hey, he was willing to sit down with both sides just to get an understanding of both their economic plans. Kamala Harris says that you had people from Goldman Sachs, which has been debunked at this point, that they looked at her plan, looked at Trump's plan, and they're saying that her plan is better than Trump's. Okay, sit down with Dave Ramsey and tell him why, because he talks to the people every day. Every day. Tell the people why you're going to be better, even though you've been in there for 3.5 years. What do you intend to do differently than Joe Biden? When you sat on The View, you said not much anything. So there we go with that. Another comment from Mark. It was actually a blocked toilet earlier in the day. So non-issue. I'm assuming you meant non-issue. Well, suspicious nonetheless. 2020 was suspicious. There was a lot of problems with 2020. I might have given one coincidence, right? Okay, so it was a toilet problem. If there weren't so many problems in a lot of the other states, probably wouldn't have been so suspicious of it. One thing, fine. But ballots being pulled out from underneath the table, poll watchers being told to leave. What's going on here? There have been people who've been arrested for ballot problems. I mean, this just keeps going on and on. We're still getting more information about what happened in the 2020 election. And, so much time has passed. We're just not going to correct that circumstance. Nonetheless, I do believe Trump's got this in the bag anyway. It's just, you don't have the same guys in this election that they had in 2020. Kamala has proven herself to be a far leftist individual. She's proven that to be the case. She's not trustworthy, and that has proven to be more true at the rally she had with Beyonce. She was promoting her rally. She was promoting her rally. Sorry, you guys. I remember I'm reaching over to the screen because problems with the mouse today. Don't know why, but hey. But yeah, we're sitting here pretending that this woman is going to be honest and trustworthy, and that's just not the case with her. At the rally she had with Beyonce, they were promoting as if she was going to perform. Then she didn't, and mad people left. And that's exactly what you should expect from a Kamala presidency. She says this is what she plans to do, and what you're actually going to get is something totally different. Yeah, Beyonce showed up, but she didn't perform, which is how they promoted it. No different than what you saw at the DNC. Oh, Beyonce's going to be here. And all you had was Kamala Harris walk out to Beyonce's song Freedom. Now, that's a big deal in and of itself, simply because, well, Beyonce doesn't like to lend her music out to anybody. And the fact that she lent it out to Kamala Harris suggests that this is an endorsement, but she didn't say anything about actually endorsing her. She just let her use her song. She doesn't do that often, which is why this was pretty much an endorsement without her actually saying it. Then you get to the rally that she just had in Texas, and you had Kelly Rowland, a Destiny's Child person. You had Beyonce, another person of Destiny's Child, and she didn't perform. people were pissed. We all saw the videos. I don't got to put it up. Y'all seen the videos of just people losing their freaking minds because she didn't actually perform. She didn't perform the Freedom Song. She didn't perform any of her music. She didn't perform Who Runs the World, which frankly, I kind of wish she did because it would have only driven Kamala's ratings down further into the ground because she's already having a hard time with men. And so her having a hard time with men just would have made things worse if you had Beyonce singing Who Runs the World, simply because she's pissing off a lot of men. But essentially, and I'm going to play a clip of you guys, with Kamala Harris sitting down with Club Shay, specifically talking about Club Shay. Well, on Club Shay, talking about Black Americans, pandering to Black Americans, and somehow she's not doing that herself. Please. That's exactly what she's doing. She changes her accent every single time. We know this woman isn't Black. Y'all know how I feel about this woman. I don't think this woman is Black, like at all. And the more I listen to Candace Owens reporting on this, the more I'm finding this woman is actually not Black at all. We have another comment from Asia Branch. I'm thinking her motivation of giving the half-ass speech has the stench of P. Diddy LMAO. That's hilarious. Word. That's funny because, I'm not saying that she has anything to do with this. I don't want any problems. Listen, look, I'm not saying she had anything to do with this. It is a little bit suspicious that now all of a sudden Beyonce is now endorsing her. Right. Someone gets the call and you got to do what you're told. Usher had the same issue, right? He was on The View saying he didn't want to tell people how to vote, just go out and vote. And then a week and a half later, what does he say? Oh, you got to vote for Kamala Harris. Okay, so somebody definitely called you. And P. Diddy has been posting on Instagram. For a guy who's behind bars, how he's posting on Instagram, that's saying a lot. Because for his daughter's birthday, he posted to Instagram, "Happy birthday to my daughter." It's like, wait a minute, he's behind bars. How is he posting? So if he can post on Instagram, chances are he can still reach out to some of the other people that he knows in Hollywood, in the music industry, to tell them to do what they need to do. It's quite possible he's the Fed that Candace Owens has been saying he is, that reaches out to other Black artists and famous Black individuals to say, hey, this is why you should vote for this person. That's a possibility. Because someone did make a joke. I don't know the comedian's name, but there's a lot of backlash from the Madison Square Garden rally with Trump. The comedian made a joke saying that the people who are endorsing Kamala Harris, this is looking like a P. Diddy party. Hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. A lot of people, I don't know if they laughed. I laughed. It was an moment. It was hysterical. I don't care what anybody says. It was absolutely hysterical. But right, I think Beyonce got the call because the entire time she was just acting. I don't know if you guys saw the movie The Lion King, the live action one. I guess, more realistic animation. It's not live action. People say it's live action. It's not. There is no lion that is singing, period. But for that live action movie where they had Beyonce play Nala the entire time, you can hear her acting. Now, I'm someone who's invested in the musical theater industry, invested into movies, Broadway, the whole nine. When you're listening to voice actors, you can hear when they're acting. Don't act, because now you're pretending. I can hear you pretending to be somebody you're not. Beyonce, at the Kamala rally in Texas, she was sounding as if she was pretending to support this broad. Kelly Rowland was more believable. Beyonce, on the other hand, was not. You can feel the energy in the room. Do you, though? Because I don't believe you at all, woman. At all. And frankly, you only let her use your song when it came to the DNC rally. Now you're actually appearing on the stage. And people were still pissed because she didn't actually sing. There's a comment here. Tech leaders anticipate a Trump victory. Yeah, they do. They do indeed. Everything seems to be in the favor of Trump right now. The mainstream media say it's a tight race. It's a tight race. Is it though? Is it? Because when you look at the betting markets, he is way above. I mean, he's in the high 60% to her low 30%. And I suspect that by next Tuesday, those numbers are going to be even higher for President Trump, right? After the Joe Rogan interview, the numbers went up. After her rally with Beyonce, the numbers went down. Then she did the pop the balloon ad, which I do believe I have here. Again, you guys, you got to excuse me. I'm reaching over because, mouse don't work. So I got to, touch the screen. It's cool when you're just scrolling for yourself. But when you're doing a podcast, it's very, very weird. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play that clip for you guys because I do find it to be kind of interesting. touching the screen. It's pretty. I mean, you guys let me know if you like me touching the screen or not. Honestly, it's weird doing this while I'm live. We got another comment coming in. Don't get popped, LMAO. Worst idea. Yeah, I was the worst. She shouldn't have done that. Like at all. Okay, so we have it here. I'm just gonna share my screen now so you guys can see it because I thought this was kind of ridiculous and desperate on her part.
I'm Trey. It's good to be here.
Oh, 1 second. Because I got to be able to hear it too, you guys. It's so weird without a mouse. You guys.
Hello, ladies. I'm Trey. It's good to be here.
Hey, Trey.
Hey.
So, what do you do and how much do you make?
I work in finance, making 6 figures.
How tall are you?
6'5".
Okay. Do you work out?
I like to stay active. Yeah.
Do you have a plan to vote?
I didn't plan on it.
These women are dumb. Good looking man. That was a good looking man. Tall, good, makes good money. I mean, everything that these women say they want in a man, they get in a man. And the only reason why you're not going to vote for this guy is because he's not voting. He didn't even say he was voting for Trump. He didn't say he was voting for Orange Man. He didn't say none of that. He didn't say he was voting Republican down the ticket. What he said was he doesn't see himself voting this election. So you're going to deny yourself the opportunity to be with a guy who is that tall, which, trying to date a guy who's in his, 6 feet, we're talking less than 5% of the male population in the United States by itself. We're talking about less than 5% of men are 6 feet. Okay. Then you're talking about men who are 6 feet and make good money. He's clearly fit, takes care of himself. So you got everything going in your favor for this guy, except for the fact that he doesn't want to vote in this election. He didn't say he was voting for Orange Man, whom you say is a racist, Nazi. Okay, fine. He's not voting for that. He's just not voting for Kamala Harris. Why are you not getting with this guy? Like, if I was in that room when all of those women just decided not to pop their balloons, I would have been celebrating. Okay, that means I'm here. I'm not about to pressure this man to vote for Trump. He's not going to stop me from voting for Trump, but that means I get to walk away with this gorgeous man, clearly fit, takes care of himself, makes good money, and doesn't want to get involved in an election that he thinks isn't going to work either way. Hey, some people are just not going to vote because they don't like either candidates. That's what I did in 2016. I didn't like Hillary, didn't like Trump. I'm not voting for either of them. Hey, he's doing the same thing. Why deny yourself? Like, that was ridiculous. And then from the fact that she even made that ad at all, you guys, shows how desperate her campaign is. Oh, well, if you don't vote for me, you're going to cost yourself a girlfriend. Patronizing men is not going to help you. And then it was a black man at that, which she's already struggling with. Now, I do think she's going to get the black vote. This is not a shocker. She's going to get the black vote. Trump's not winning the black vote. The number would have gone down, but the second the Democrats see 70% of black people, that's it. That's the black vote. Kamala's getting the black vote. That's obviously happening. We have another combination. Tuppence. Hi, Tuppence. I was just working with her today. Absolutely love Tuppence. Hi, Tuppence. She's one of the people that I work with, you guys. She's absolutely hilarious. You should definitely check out Two Voices, One Punchline. She is awesome. I got to get you on the show for sure because I think people would love to have you on. You're absolutely hysterical. Love this woman. Absolutely love this woman. Okay. So thanks for joining in, Tuppence. Definitely get more further into the comments if there's something here that you like, disagree. I love the debate. So if you like, don't like, disagree, agree, get in there. Speaking of which, you guys, you can go ahead and you can subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. Let's try to beat this algorithm. Let's get some more subscriptions going, get some more views on this. Definitely share this video, like this video when it's done and you actually have the opportunity to do that. That's going to be an amazing thing. So again, like I was saying, Kamala Harris, absolutely desperate. She's losing some support amongst young men, amongst men, period. I don't know if you guys saw that clip. Fox News actually covered this, where there was a hot mic between Kamala Harris and I believe it was the governor of, was it Michigan? The Wicked Witch of the West, I believe is what her name was. Because in New York, it's Kathy Hochul. She's the Wicked Witch of the East. So the Wicked Witch of the West, Gretchen Whitmer, I believe is her name, were caught on a hot mic at a bar saying that they need to make some movement with men. It's a week out from the election, woman. If you haven't done it by now, the chances of you doing it again, highly unlikely. I just don't see it happening. We got another comment from Mark. A non-vote is a Kamala vote. What a shame. I don't think it's a Kamala vote. I think it's a win. I've told so many people not to vote for Kamala Harris. They may vote in the election for every other thing, but not for the presidency. So I do think you can vote in other, well, not just you can, obviously you can, but that you should vote where it matters as it relates to school boards, state legislature. Those things I think matter to some of the people who don't want to vote for the presidency. But when it does come to the presidency, I know I'm not convincing, especially Black Americans. I can only speak as relates to my family. My family could be a microcosm. My family, with the exception of a few, it might just be me and my twin sister, Asia of Brazen Insights, the host of Brazen Insights. You should definitely subscribe to her channel as well. Her podcast is amazing. But I will say, they were hard Democrats, okay? Trying to convince them to vote for President Trump was just not happening. I did that in 2020 and it didn't work. It didn't work at all. But then I realized for the 2020 election that if I had just told them everything wrong with Joe Biden and not focused on all of the wonderful things or the good things that Trump had done for the American people, that they might have at the very least not have considered voting for Joe Biden. Because again, he was the plausible diversion. If I can take votes away from the enemy, then maybe that's something I could do with that. Maybe that helps in our favor, because not voting for Kamala Harris means we have the chance of actually taking this position, taking the White House from the Democrats. I think that not voting for Kamala Harris is a good thing. That doesn't mean that they're going to vote for President Trump. I've taken some votes from Kamala, which I'm proud of, because, hey, even if you're not going to vote for President Trump, I've not been able to convince my family members to vote for President Trump, right? I've just not been able to convince them of that. You should vote for Trump because he supports opportunity zones. You should vote for Trump because he supports tax cuts. You should vote for Trump because he's not going to tax tips. You should vote for Trump because you weren't thinking about nuclear annihilation. You should vote for Trump because you had better gas prices. You should vote for Trump because you had better energy prices. Homes are more affordable. I mean, life was more affordable under President Trump, and that's a good reason to vote for this guy. Now, saying all that, I've still not been able to convince them. They can't tell me why they're voting for Kamala Harris, aside from the fact that they believe that this broad is Black. I don't care if she is. I don't think you should vote for her. She's far leftist. She's locked up Black women for truancy because their children were sick and out of school because of their sickness. She's locked up Black men and kept them behind bars and withheld evidence just to keep them in prison behind bars for the cheap labor. She sicked the DOJ of the California state onto pro-lifers. So even if you're someone who doesn't support the pro-life movement because you're pro-choice, it's just off the fact that she was abusing power since she was the Attorney General of California. She doesn't respect Black men, obviously. She doesn't respect women who were single mothers because she did lock them up as well. She doesn't believe in freedom. She looks at citizenship as if we're just straight commoners. This is not a woman to vote for. Kamala Harris is not someone that we should be considering voting for just because she's a melanated individual. I don't care if she's melanated, okay? We got illegals who come into the United States because they're melanated. I do not care. I don't care if you come from Africa. I don't care if you come from Panama like my father did. I don't care, okay? You come to the country illegally, you're not someone that I want to have here. This is what it is. If you do not believe in the principles of what it means to be Western civilization, of the principles of the Western civilized people, I don't want you here. I don't like the idea that we have all these people coming in. The borders are who's allowed all of these terrible things. You had the materials, you let them rot, you gave them away, pennies on the dollar, you left the borders open, you got rid of the Remain in Mexico policy, you destroyed the economy with unbelievably high inflation rates. People, it just goes on and on and on. Diet melanin here. Hilarious. Diet melanin. That's funny. I like that. I'm going to start calling you that the next time I see you. There go my diet melanin sister, Tuppence. I love it. That's hysterical. That's hysterical. But you are a diet melanin that I actually like. So, I like you, Tuppence. I don't like Kamala, but I love you. Not even just like, I love you, Tuppence. You're awesome sauce. You're like another sister. You're awesome sauce. But yeah, ultimately, you guys, when it comes to this election, it's next Tuesday. I can't wait for it to be over. I do intend to vote. I do think Trump's got this in the bag. I'm over the election ads. Like, I was watching football the other day, and oh my goodness, I counted how many ads just at once. There was 4 different ads. 4 ads. There was not one beer commercial, not Red Lobsters, no Olive Garden, no nothing except Mad Political ads. We got another one from Tuppence. That's it. Love you, girl. Love you too, Tuppence. Absolutely love you. I'll see you later. Awesome sauce. She's awesome. You guys definitely check out Two Voices, One Punchline. She's just an amazing spirit. Just wonderful person. Just absolutely hilarious and just a great spirit altogether. Definitely check out Two Voices, One Punchline. I'm a producer and an editor of their show, so definitely check it out. Subscribe to their channel. They are great. They're definitely great. So as I was saying, you guys, when it comes to Kamala Harris, I do not believe that this woman has it. I don't think. Oh, she's still staying. She's still staying. No, I'm not leaving. Thank you for sticking around. Definitely love it. Definitely love it. Thanks for sticking around, Tuppence. But yeah, she doesn't have it in the bag. So, I've gone on and on and on. I'm just going to play the clip of her at Club Shay. Well, sitting down with Club Shay, talking about why she's pandering or why she's not pandering to Black people. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run that clip. Let's go for it. What you said that's it. What you said was that, what you said was that's it. I don't know what you mean, Tuppence. You'll have to explain to me when I see you. You got another one from, Above, Beyond, and Forever. Hello, Archie. Hello, and everyone. Trump 2024. You already know. And I am going to be wearing my MAGA hat on the election, you guys. I'm wearing my MAGA hat because, I'm a Trump girl. Get over it. There's that one. I do have a MAGA, actual MAGA hat, but it says 2020. So I obviously can't wear that one. I'm going to wear my Trump girl, get over it hat. That one I'm going to wear. That one I'm going to wear on the election. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to run that clip for you guys of Kamala Harris sitting down with Club Shay because, oh my goodness, that was a piece of work. She was a piece of work. This is so weird touching the screen while I'm doing this, you guys. It's so weird. It's so weird. It's another political ad while I wait for this video. It's so many ads. So many ads. It's I'm watching the broad. Did you really need to show me a political ad while I'm watching her? Come on. YouTube, get your algorithms together. You need to be smarter about how we doing this. Okay, I'm going to play the clip now because now that the ad is over, let's go for it. Oh, before I do that, we got another thing. From Mark, GOP projected to win the House, and they now have a slim Senate lead. I know Kamala Harris is about to be asked out because I do suspect it's going to be a red wave, at least for the House and the presidency. And I think Carby Lake is going to be the one seat that gives us the majority. So that's going to be a good thing. Even if it is a tie, split, if we win the White House and our VP, then JD Vance is going to be the split. So let's go ahead and let's run this clip, you guys, of Kamala at Club Shay. Let's go for it.
Like when other candidates go on shows and they say they're going to do this, they're not pandering. They're telling you, laying out their elaborate plan on what they're going to do. But it seems to you, when you promise it, if I'm president, this is what I'm going to do in the first 90 days. This is what I'm going to do. My administration is going to do while I'm in office. You're pandering. How do you get through to those that says, look, this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. If I'm elected president, these are the policies, and they will lead to meaningful and impactful change.
Well, part of it is just to be candid. I think that there's sadly a misinformation out there about who I am and what I've done, because if people are informed about fact, they will know that almost everything that I'm talking about doing as president is built on a foundation of work that I've been doing for years.
What?
If it is about economic empowerment of the Black community and all communities, I've been working on that. As vice president, I am responsible for billions of dollars from big banks and big.
Okay, so before I let her go on, because oh my gosh, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Okay, so as your role as vice president, you are in control of a lot of the money. Inflation woman. So I want y'all to hear what this woman just said. She's in control of a lot of the money, but there's crazy inflation. Explain that to me, woman. You're in control of the money, and we've got crazy inflation, and somehow this doesn't mean you're responsible. I'm gonna pull up some of these comments before I go on with the video. So we have one from Celine again. Oh wait, there's the other one I want to show you guys. Do you think Joe Biden voted for Trump? Absolutely. Absolutely. Just because you don't like Kamala Harris. I think he stood in line for early voting just to vote for President Trump, just because he don't like Kamala. He didn't respect the coup. that took place against him. He wanted to be the one that was running, and clearly it's not him. He's very upset about that. I think he voted for President Trump just because, hey, I don't know if he's going to win, but if he does, I'm definitely one of the people that put him there. Definitely pisses him off. We got another one from Celine. She keeps talking about an opportunity economy, but I don't know what that means. She doesn't know what that means, Celine. I think she knows what the words mean individually, but together as a policy idea, she has no idea. The idea isn't hers. First of all, the title isn't catchy at all. Bidenomics was more catchy. You know, Biden, I think, had people on his team that knew how to make it catchy. Opportunity economy didn't do that. Frankly, President Trump had opportunity zones. This is nothing new. So, I don't think she knows what it is. No one knows what it is. And remember, after the debate that she had with President Trump, Dr. Phil actually did a whole Q&A, and there were people who were undecided. And there was a woman in the audience, and she said, I still don't know what she means when she talks about the opportunity economy. No one knows what this is, not even Kamala Harris. Another one from Celine. She talks to you like you're 5, but still is so unclear because she just doesn't know. The one has no ideas. She's hollow. Just hollow. Absolutely hollow. Another one from Celine. I don't blame him. He was done dirty. Absolutely. He lost in a debate and they just took him off. And listen, had they just been honest with the American people from the beginning, he may not have been president at all. He may not have lasted as long as he did, but then she would have been the president. But then we would have had a record to go with. Who knows? But then, listen, everything works out in God's time. So, definitely done dirty. Completely agree with that. We got a comment from Asia Branch. Doesn't she know saying you're controlling the money just proves why women have the most debt? That's hilarious because, right, if she's in control of the money and we have the highest debt in the history of our country, $35 trillion, woman, if you are in control of the wallet and under your control of the wallet, we ended up with $35 trillion in debt. Hello. That is hysterical, Asia. And Celine agrees with you entirely because that's hysterical. It's like, right, we don't want to put that stereotype on women. It's not so much a stereotype as it is true, obviously, because, the statistics obviously show that women have more debt than men. Having a woman in control of the wallet with the highest debt in the history of our country, it certainly doesn't work out because she could just say it's not her fault. But because you just admitted on Club Shay that you were in control of the money, yeah, it certainly doesn't help her, like, at all. We got another one from Celine. When Trump talks about bringing down inflation, he gives a clear, easy to understand step-by-step plan. Yeah, he does. That's one of the reasons why I think people like President Trump. He's colloquial. He sounds like a real person. He doesn't do the political jumping from back and forth, the moving words around so we don't understand it. He makes it quite clear. Build the wall. That was clear. Lock her up. That was clear. Tax cuts. No tax on tips. It's just clear. Opportunity zones where people can go and get the investment they need to build business. Boom. Done. It was just clear. They did not have those problems at all. It was just clear. She's not clear because she's a politician. She's been in it for way too long because she could have had some ideas that I don't agree with, right? But she's no Jill Stein, right? Jill Stein is a known socialist here in the United States. This is a woman I could have a glass of wine with, I will say. I think Jill Stein is an interesting mind. I disagree with her because some of her ideas are definitely socialist. She knows she's a socialist. She's an open socialist. At the end of the day, she knows what her ideas are. She's very clear on what she wants. She's very clear. You know what it is that she's saying. You know what her policy ideas are. And we can say clearly why we disagree with it. And she can verbalize why she believes what she believes. I think that's something. From Tuppence, Jill Stein, and wine. All I'm saying, I think she's a commie for sure, but a likable one. I think she does not like AOC. For that reason alone, I think the woman is worth sitting down having a glass of wine. Like, hey, anybody who doesn't like AOC, I'm willing to sit down with and ask, hey, do you not like her for the same reasons I don't like her, or do you not like her for different reasons? And I'd like to know what those reasons are. Yeah. Jill Stein, definitely a woman I can sit down and have a glass of wine with. She's a socialist, but at the very least, she knows what she stands on. Kamala Harris is a shell. Everything she says she believes in, I don't even think she believes, right? One of the leaks that happened when she was in just doing her vice president work, why she had a massive turnover rate of people leaving. Someone actually leaked the information that their child or their adult child worked for Kamala Harris, and they left because she wanted people to call her general when she was just the vice president. No, it wasn't enough to be called Madam Vice President. No, she wanted when people walked to the room, when she walked into the room, that they refer to her as the general, that they stand when she walks into a room. And I'll give you that part, because of your title. You are the vice president. When they walk in, they stand up. That's just, manners of titles and ranks. So for that reason, I understand that. I get why civilians don't do it on a daily basis because we're not military. We don't do that on a daily. But I get why she would be looking for that. But general, you're not the general. You're not. Why are we calling you that? But that's what she wanted. Like this woman, diva all the way, no ideas of her own. It's just, ridiculous. Another top comment from Tuppence: Martha Stewart, Snoop, Jill, and Wine. That would be an interesting roundtable for sure. That would be interesting. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue with this Club Shay interview.
Big corporations, including technology companies, getting into community banks to increase access to capital for minority-owned and other small businesses. If you look at my work over a period of years, my focus again on something like maternal mortality is longstanding, which directly impacts Black men and Black women.
Right.
And the Black family. If you look at the work that I am doing that is about small businesses, the person who helped my mother raise us, who was a second mother to us, was a small business owner. I have always focused for such a long time on what we need to do, knowing that our small businesses are part of the culture of our communities, right? Including the economic fabric and strength of the community. So what I'm talking about doing right now is based on longstanding work. It's not new. But as president of the United States,
Kamala Harris pandering to Blacks? ? Yes, no. Why? Yes or no? Are we getting any of that from her right now? I don't think so, but y'all get in the comments. Let me know if you think we are, because I don't think we're getting anything from her. I'm gonna let this keep going.
Part of why it is important is it is a new approach to that job. It is about a new way that is based on a new generation of leadership, that is based on new ideas, and frankly, a different experience that brings my commitment to the work I am talking about into being.
Listen, unfortunately, I've gone viral a few times, but I've never gone viral for GOP.
Okay. I'm going to get to some of the comments. Okay, so we have one from Celine again. Oh, wait, nope. Yep, from Celine. Our country was much more racially united under Trump because we weren't so focused on identity politics or woke culture crap. I don't know if I agree with that. I think we did have that major culture divide, so that was definitely something. We got one from Mark. When the hands go up, the shit talk will flow. Definitely, and my twin sister definitely has talked about the big gestures. Speaking of which, I'm going to bring her into the conversation. Hey, Twinkster. Hey, Asia.
How do, everybody? I made it. You guys, when she told me she was going live, I was literally at, I want to say, the train station on my way home. And it was like, really? You're going to live now? Oh, I'm on my way home. And it takes like an hour and change because I don't drive. And I do believe the Ramsey way. Don't live above your means and don't buy a car. Even if you have a driver's license, don't buy one if you don't have to or want to or can't afford to. So it takes me an hour to get home. And when you said you were going live, it was like, oh man, I hope I make it in time to join you because man, but this is me settled in, finally got a glass of wine, but I'm in Texas and it's hot and I got to take this off.
In the comment section. Asia!
Hi, Tuppence! Hi, Tuppence!
Oh, wait, do you want to do the happy birthday? Because her birthday just
Yes,
happened.
I do. I
Ready?
do.
Okay.
Yes.
One, two, three.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
Happy birthday
to
to
you.
you. Happy birthday, dear Tuppence.
Tuppence. Happy birthday to you.
And many more. Sorry, guys. I had to take that blazer off. It's hot and I'm in Texas and I did not cut my AC on. So it's hot today.
You're like eager to get onto this. We have another comment from Mark. Beautiful ladies. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Very
Hi,
little
Mark.
makeup. Very little makeup. And I do think it's the baby face,
It definitely is. I tried to buy wine yesterday. So, the wine that I'm drinking here. And I go to my store to get my wine because it's not like a liquor store or anything. It's like a regular.
You're welcome,
You're
Tuppence.
welcome. Yeah, it was a new guy at the store. So, at this point, I don't have to be carded anymore because, the guys who own this particular store know me already. But it's a new guy at the cash register. I go to buy my wine and, of course, I'm asked to be carded. And I'm like, seriously? Like, it's buried in the bag. And I broke a nail trying to get to it.
Oh, no.
And he's like, how old are you? And I'm like, man, I'm almost 30. No, you look like you're 17. I'm like, well, thank you. Let's hope that that's the case when I'm 50. Not looking 17, just like, 10 years younger.
Right. Let's see. We got one from Celine. What are your thoughts on Michelle Obama shaming men in general yesterday?
Celine, I'm so glad you asked that. I was actually talking to my sister earlier today on one of my walkabouts on my break at work today. Like, Michelle Obama thought that was a good idea. I don't get what's wrong with Kamala's campaign. She's made a lot of bad choices. I mean, call her daddy. This is a woman who's been perceived by men like once upon a time you were a tramp. When it's like, you may not be one now, but the last place you go is, literally the Hold'em podcast. But okay, that was one bad decision. Then she does the don't get popped ad. Okay, so a bunch of men, not just black men, but a bunch of men just decided that I don't like this chick. She's a bitch.
That's funny.
I don't like her.
It says so she was shaming herself.
Right.
It's like great. I've heard those rumors about her.
To quote, to kind of sort of quote Meet the Browns, she's a reformed hoe. But okay, you're reformed, but you don't go to Hold'em. Anyways, then you don't get popped. And that was a retaliation to her numbers going down with men. I actually did an episode about that, talking about it. And it's like, it's not just black men, but okay, let's single out the black men and say you won't enjoy black love if you vote for Trump or don't vote for me at all. Okay. Then Michelle comes out yesterday and doubles down on it. And really, this is not about men in general from her campaign, right? Because I think you can kiss alpha white men goodbye. I think they kind of expected that. That's kind of been the case with the Democrat Party for like years now. Like, it's not unexpected or anything. But with black men, they've had such a hold on their cojones for decades that now men are like, get off. I'm not voting for this bitch anymore. And Michelle just decided, you're going to betray your mother. Okay, but why does she gave birth to me? Like, that's what all the men were thinking when she said your mother is going to be collateral damage. Why would my mother care about abortion? She had me. Why would she care? But okay, my mother's collateral damage. This is about women's rights. Okay, it's about women's rights. Yet you're advocating for my future child to cut his penis off so he can claim to be a chick. But not voting for this chick is the collateral damage. And then you simply just try to make it seem like that they're putting their daughters at risk for 15, 20 years, if not longer. You just sat there and told men that their masculinity was toxic, that their innate nature to protect their women, whether they be their mother, aunt, daughter, sister, cousin, friend. You just sat there for 15 years.
White men's stocks have been on a steady decline.
That's not white men's fault, though. I mean, really, when you have a bunch of people in the celebrity sphere and everyone pretty much telling white men that they're a bunch of racist, misogynist pigs, I mean, it doesn't really help. So doubling down on top of all of that misogynistic crap, now they're also racist. I mean, come on. I mean, for decades they've been doing this to men, but you look at black men specifically, I hated that crack of you're making your mother's the collateral damage. I'm like, but she gave birth to me. So why is voting for Kamala making her collateral damage if the only reason why you're saying vote for this broad is to protect a woman's right to delete a baby? But my mother doesn't need to delete a baby. The men you're referring to, their mothers are probably 40, 50, 60 years old, most likely either had all the children that they were going to have,
Yep.
Can't have children anymore because of menopause or surgical procedure was done, like tying the tubes or medical condition that required those things to be done. Sometimes
Right.
it's cancer and those surgeries or what have you. So that
Right.
whole shaming thing that Michelle was doing, nonsense. And personally, they should have brought out
I
a long
completely
time
agree
ago
with
for
that.
Kamala.
I completely agree with that because frankly, first of all, on a strategic level, I thought it was dumb. I thought it was
Stupid.
absolutely
Flat
stupid
out
for her
stupid.
to go after men, specifically because we know that Kamala's campaign is suffering from the lack of male support, especially after she got the Taylor Swift endorsement. That didn't help. And even CNN was saying the big concern here is whether or not she's going to be able to attract more men. And, I found it interesting that you had one woman saying, oh, this is amazing because she's going to get all the young voters. But then it was the black anchor who said, I don't think that's going to be the case. Like, listen, it's a good thing that she got the endorsement. That's great. You might encourage young people to vote for Kamala Harris. But if she doesn't get the male vote, and not just with white men, but also with black men, this is going to be a concerning thing. And so this is why I think you are going to have a lot of problems with men in general. And then there was that clip that was released. It was a leaked hot mic moment between Kamala Harris and the governor, I believe it's Michigan,
Wicked Witch of the West.
Whitmer, Wicked Witch of the West.
I know when you were saying that, I was cracking up because again, I'm on my way home. I had to come out of the tunnel, and so I'm catching up with everything. That was Wicked Witch of the West, Wicked Witch of the East. The house is about to fall on her ass. Okay, New York, Madison Square Garden. New York is flipping. I just had to get that out. Your movie musical references on point. Just had to say that. Sorry to cut you off.
Thank you. But absolutely, it's like there was that clip between the two of them, the hot mic moment, and they were talking about how they need to make more ground with men. The fact that she wasn't already able to do that at all. It's if you haven't gotten the male attention already, this was something that was supposed to happen at the beginning of the month and it didn't happen at all. We do have a comment from Celine. The Dems hate men, so why would they support her? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't.
I'm going to tell you, when I
agree with you, Celine. It doesn't make sense.
When I think it really started to hit the left that they were losing all men, not just white men.
You about to say something?
Do you remember
crazy.
this trending? I am about to say something crazy. So I was watching, this is months ago. It was a trending moment. I think it was on TikTok. Some podcast was going up to random women and talking about what do women think men want in relationships, right? And the blonde girl, the Haktui girl, right? She looks like Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift comes out and she endorses Kamala Harris, who is the OG Haktui girl, because we know her record. And then she goes on a show about Haktuing. I mean, who was running this campaign? I don't even like this broad. But someone should have said, you know what?
That's funny.
Madam Vice President, you may want to sit on the Taylor Swift. No, she'll get all the young people, though. She'll get all the young ones. Okay, let's say you'll get all the young ones. You know what all the young ones are watching on TikTok? Haktui girl.
That's funny. We have one from Mark. MAGA Democrats now a new term.
Facts.
Indeed. It's like influencer. That just became a thing in 2017. So is now MAGA Democrat. This became a thing. I don't know. I mean, I'll say this. Mark, definitely put in the comments when you think this became a term. Is this like a new phenomenon of this year? Did it start in 2023?
Hell no. It started in 2016.
No, MAGA Democrats. There were not very many MAGA Democrats, but there are now, especially because of Biden inflation, Kamala Harris, bad border, a lot of problems. And I do think that this is something that is new, but the question is how new? Is it fairly new? Like, is it new to this year specifically? Or have we been seeing Democrats wanting to switch sides and vote, not so much switch sides, but vote differently because of Biden? So is that something that goes back to even last year? Certainly wasn't in 2020, but could be now. You have another comment from Tuppence. Earmuffs. I don't know what that means. So
you're going to have to explain that. What?
We're definitely Tuppence. Earmuffs. Are we talking about how people shouldn't be cussing and need earmuffs because of the language? That's possible. That could be.
I didn't say the provocative word. I mean, if you don't Tuppence, okay. So
we know it's not because of language.
Okay, so on your next podcast, because I'm a huge fan of you guys, I watch all the time. Waiting for the next episode.
Indeed,
You
coming up
and
tonight, actually.
Testimony need to watch the Hawk Tui clip and then go to town, because
The
then you'll
Hawk
understand
Tui.
why it was a bad idea for the OG Hawk Tui
That's
to
funny.
be on a show called Call Her Daddy, when everything's sitting in the front of every man's psyche is, but you a reformed hoe. You don't
Judge
go
Joe
to
Brown. 'Cause she's and then he went on Candace. It was like, her relationship with Willie Brown. Wait, what did she say? Another one. It was for what Asia was going to say. We got another one from Celine. My small New England town, Patriots, I'm assuming. Side note, is painted red by all of the Trump signs. I see it gives me a lot of hope. Indeed, I see the same thing in
I wish
Pennsylvania.
I could say the same thing.
I will
I'll walk-
say
I'm
I
walking-
do find
I
it
walk
hilarious though. I'll be driving down one area and one side, all
Yeah.
Trump. The other
Yeah.
side, Kamala Harris. But it'll be like the one house. The one house. It's like,
Yeah, there's
that
like
must feel
a
weird for
crap
them,
ton
but
of
everybody
Kamala
respects
people over
everybody's
here,
sign.
like,
So that's part
there's
of
like
it.
a lot of there's like mad houses over here with like,
Judge Joe Brown has the dirt on her. Definitely, guys,
and
check
he's
out
sharing. He's no
Candace
Diddy.
Owens when she had him on the show. I thought it was hilarious. She's like, I will go into your attic and get that information you say you have about her dad. I need to know. Because right, this broad is not black. She might even just be Jewish.
Yeah, I think she just like talked about her connection with the cartels in California when she was the attorney general. I was like, what? Like, forget about
surprised
her
at all.
race. Forget about that.
Another
What?
comment from Celine. I barely see any signs and I live in Blue, Massachusetts. That's
'Cause they're all
awesome.
fed
But
up.
you were actually
They're all-
going on to say that it wasn't the same
Yeah.
for you as far as being a Trump country.
It's not, because I'm not in Trump country. You would think, because you're in Texas, you would think the whole state would be red, but that's a bunch of bogusness, because I live in a county that is very blue. Like when I was working with Blexit, when I first moved out here, I was a city coordinator with them. And so it was my job to kind of go to different events. I got to go to an event where Riley Gaines had given a speech. I got to see the lieutenant governor give a speech out here, and that was pretty cool. Got to partner up with some nonprofits out here too and serve the community, because I prefer to be out in the street. That was more my thing.
right.
Anyway, when I would sit down with these conservatives, from other like programs like Turning Point, because I worked with Turning Point for a little bit, because remember they merged their organizations. Dallas County is so blue, and they would say it, right? I did this one event. It was in Ellis County. It's still in Dallas. Dallas is massive as crap, people. Okay. It's massive. And so there's Dallas County, Tarrant County, Ellis County, probably a whole bunch of other counties. I've only ever been to those three. So those are the only three I know. Dallas County is blue as heck. Blue. And you have Ellis County, where I did an event. It was a group of a Republican group out there, and I went out there, and they were telling me, after I gave my little spiel, they were saying, we could use more speakers like you here in Ellis County. We really want to work with Blexit, yada yada, and so forth. And they were saying to me that you should consider moving to Ellis County. And I'm like, okay, one, I don't have a car yet, so Ellis County is not working for me. Dallas County is the closest to like a East Coast lifestyle. So I can hop on the bus, hop on the train, get to work within an hour and change, depending on traffic and stuff like that. So they were telling me, yeah, Dallas County, it's deep blue. There is no changing it. It has a mayor, the mayor of Dallas. He switched to the Republican Party, but that's a bunch of baloney, because I'm like, okay, if you were really about being Republican, which is not the grand old party, it's about getting these illegals out, get them off the damn streets, clean it up, get these homeless people off the street and put them somewhere, put them in a hospital, I don't care what you call it, asylum, inpatient care, long-term care. I don't really care. Put them in there. Don't say you're crowded. If you kick these illegals out, you're in Texas. You're like 8 hours away from the border. So, I mean, Texas is huge. So it's like, I think from border to border of Texas, like 12 hours. So I'm like, you're like probably anywhere between 4 to 8 hours away from the border. Ship that ass back over there. You're claiming to be Republican. And so I live in a county that is so blue. When I walk home from my bus stop,
Right.
at least
I
3
do
to 4
have
of the
another
houses that I
comment.
see have Tim
Mhm.
Walz and Kamala Harris signs. And it's like, man, they weren't lying to me when they said Dallas
It
County
was
was deep
great,
blue.
straight blue. Because you have another one
Right.
from Celine. I legit thought that Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk were a father and son.
funny.
Hilarious.
Because they
It's
do
that
kind of
weird
look alike.
smile. That's that
Yeah.
smile. You know how they're, the left has these fake, they're not posters, but they're like cardboard
They're
cutouts.
not. Yeah.
And sometimes the left has some funny things. Like I love the Trump baby balloon. I just it reminds me of Gus Gus from Boss
From
Baby.
Boss Baby.
Like, I just love the Trump baby balloon. But they got this cardboard blow up of Charlie Kirk smiling, and then you
Yeah.
look at Tucker Carlson when he does that laugh.
Side note, I can't wait
really
for
hard,
him
like
to
things are
like
funny, and they have that.
grow. Like even if it's just like not even like a full beard, but I can't wait to like. I feel like Charlie
Kirk
specifically.
fits
I
with
don't
a
think
beard,
Tucker
right?
is ever gonna grow a beard, but Charlie
I don't
Kirk, I'm
know.
like, no, you look like a beard kind of guy. Like maybe not a fullness, but
Yeah, maybe not
here,
like Matt
it may-
Walsh. Maybe not Matt
Right.
Walsh.
not
But-
Matt Walsh, but
Yeah.
like Dan Bongino-esque, like how Dan Bongino has like that close kind of a shave. Charlie
They do
Kirk, I
look a
feel
lot
like could
alike,
pull it off.
Celine.
Yeah,
I
I
do
feel like
think it's
Charlie
that
Kirk could pull it
smile
off,
of
and
theirs.
it'll fill in that smile. It'll fill in that smile.
Yeah, honestly, it's the smile for me. I think it's the smile and their hair and the smile. Like Charlie
Yes.
does look like he could be his son. The hair and the smile come from Tucker, and everything else is from the mother. Like that's what that looks like. Obviously, we know
Yeah.
they're not related, but that's it. It's the smile because you blow up both of their
Weird.
smiles.
But
on
they
the
could
cardboard
seriously be
thing,
like
and
brother
that's
from
what it
another
looks
mother.
like.
They could
And
really
they
be
are
that
both
way.
tall, right? So yeah, they are both tall. Yeah, they do look like they could be related. Charlie could just be his younger doppelganger. That could be
Yeah.
it. We have a comment from Mark again. The Democrats with senators citing for Trump in their ads stating they can work with Trump and have MAGA Democrats. Yeah,
They're lying.
yeah. Well, some I do think
Does-
are working with
Oh wait,
Trump.
does he mean like like citizen Democrats, or does he mean like Democrats in the Senate?
The Democrats with senators siding for Trump in their ads stating they can work with Trump and have. Now, they could
I
just be
think
saying
they're
it to get
lying.
elected. They could just be
Yeah.
saying it to get elected because we do know one of the reports that came out about the Democrats because of how poorly Kamala Harris is doing is that the Democrats are worried that she's going to take them down with them. Nancy Pelosi
yeah.
got caught talking about this, and it's possible that they're just putting this in their ads because they want people to know that we can be bipartisan too. Very similar to what you saw with Joe Biden coming in defense of Ron DeSantis for the hurricane, the strike. DeSantis did a really good job. And Kamala was trying to throw shade at DeSantis, and Biden stepped in like, no, actually, he did pretty good.
Did that.
I actually had that conversation with our mother, and she was like, see, but that's what I like to see, bipartisanship. Obviously, we know Biden probably has an
He
ulterior motive.
woke up from a nap, eating ice cream, and said, "I don't like this bitch. I'm gonna say DeSantis did a good job."
Right. Do
That's
I
what
think
I
it's
think
because he genuinely thinks DeSantis is a good guy? Probably not.
No,
Do
it's
I think it's
because
because
he
he thinks
don't like
DeSantis did a
her.
good job? No, I think it's because he don't like her. I think he voted for
Exactly.
Trump. I think he only said what he said about Ron DeSantis because he
Did
don't
you hear
like
that story?
the truth.
Apparently, because early voting. First of all, side note, I was in your comments earlier today, and I don't know if maybe you saw it and didn't like the comment and removed it, or if YouTube was deleting it. I'm more inclined to think that. Earlier in your live, you were talking about early voting. I think it was Celine that said she did early voting today, and
Yeah.
you were saying you prefer to be in person at the ballot box, at the actual voting place. And I said, well, some early voting is being done in person. Just depends on how each state and local municipality is set up. But I was saying how I wouldn't want to do like a mail-in ballot and drop it in a drop box because if they expect this area to flip for Trump, then this ballot box is gonna go boom. Because did you hear that they're blowing these things
I
up?
did hear about those. I did hear about
Right.
that.
I'm like, they're going boom. And I'm like, they're going boom because they know that Trump is winning even in the early voting stages.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I put that comment there. And when, came out the tunnel to come back, it was gone. So I put it in again. Full service. I had all of my 5G network and it went away. I'm like, there's
'cause
no
I don't
way.
think I saw that here. So
You
that is
did. And I thought it was
suspicious.
funny. I thought
We
it
do
was
have
funny.
a comment here from Celine. People are comparing Trump to Hitler, thinking Kamala is the Queen Mother in World War II. That's a bad comparison. Indeed.
It is a
Indeed.
bad comparison.
I honestly think that people are getting way too emotional about President Trump. Like I'm voting for the guy. I think he was a great president in 2016. The biggest issue that I have with him is that he wasn't strong in protecting constitutional liberties during the COVID era.
Yeah.
Because you know what I think about what happened during COVID. I don't think he was strong enough there. And because of what happened with the shutdowns, it was made easier for them to cheat. In my opinion, I think that's what
I
happened
agree.
in 2020.
You know what? When I think about his
I
COVID
do
years, I
think
mean,
that, these comparisons about Trump and Hitler,
Mhm.
then Kamala being so, this hero. First of all, if we're looking at any of these politicians, whether they are someone who is new to this, they're not career politicians. Trump's been in this at this point 8 years. It's been a decade. At what point do we say someone's a career politician, right? Is it after they've been in there for 4 years? He's been involved in politics since he came down the escalator, wasn't reelected in 2020.
Actually,
talking
most
to the
people don't know this
constituencies.
because he didn't run in 2012, but he was very much involved in politics during the 2012 election. In fact, when
Right.
Mitt Romney was about to throw his hat in the ring, people in the Republican Party were asking Trump to run for office. I mean, he went on The View. I think Barbara Walters was there still.
still
Joy
there.
Behar was talking to him. They showed him
Yeah.
respect, and they were like, "Look, like." They even asked him about abortion. He was like, "Look, it's been here even when I was coming up." So it was like, it was just what we're used to.
Mhm.
But he said, I got people on this side asking me that I should run. And I think Elizabeth Hasselbeck was still there.
Mhm.
She was saying, would you consider running for office? Like, really? Would you? Like, she got so excited.
Yeah, because
when
if he ran on the
said-
Democrat side,
So-
would we have nearly as much hatred going towards the orange man? Would we have all of these lawsuits
Probably
against
not.
him if he were a
But that was
Democrat?
the thing. It wasn't Democrats asking him to run. Democrats
Yeah,
are
I know,
asking
I
him
know.
for money, right?
Yeah,
But it
I
was
know
the
that.
Republican pundits and money people and PAC
I mean,
people
I
that
know
asked
that it wasn't the Democrats that were asking, but what I'm suggesting is that if he did run as a Democrat, would we have gotten the same vitriol towards the supporters of Trump? Would you have, because conservatives just don't do what the left does. The Republicans don't do what the left does, right? You wouldn't have
That's a
had
good
people
question.
calling Trump racist if he were on the
So
left.
you're saying for
And the
which
policies would have been the same.
are you talking about if he were running against Hillary in the primary
Mhm.
as a Democrat? That's what
You
you're
would
referring
have
to?
slaughtered. Well,
I
not so much
think-
against Hillary, not against Hillary. I
No, I'm
think that if it was him running against Obama instead of Mitt Romney,
Oh, so you're
I
saying
think
even if he
he
were
might have won.
still the Republican candidate running against Obama, you think Trump would have won?
no, I mean, well, yeah, that too. No, as in, running against the incumbent, but then I guess people don't. But he might have had a chance against the incumbent because
They
then
wouldn't
it
have.
was a coup
So, yeah,
against Biden.
politically speaking, Trump
speaking,
wouldn't
yeah,
have
he would have
won
had to have
if he
run
was
as a
going up
Republican
against an
against
incumbent.
Obama.
If he was
Yeah,
going
It
against
had
an
to have been
incumbent,
before then.
no one primaries their own president in an incumbent election.
But it wouldn't
for
have
the
beat
most part.
Obama in 2008 either because, we did that for symbolism.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, everybody.
No one
voted
was
for
going to turn down the
It would have
opportunity.
had to have been
there.
the only other moment for him to run against Obama would have been as a Republican. But if Trump were going to ever run as a Democrat, it would have been in the primaries against Hillary Clinton. And I don't think the trivial and the mudslinging that we were seeing as citizens who support his policies and Donald Trump would have gotten the same vitriol that we're seeing now if he ran as a Democrat. I think they still would have gone after him the way that they did because Hillary is still the person that they wanted, right? It still would have been Hillary's who we want. And they would have cheated against him. I mean, we saw that she cheated against Bernie Sanders. Like they stole that from him.
Yeah.
Bernie
They were
was
like, you
beating
got to stay quiet about that because we're going to need that. We're going to need that.
exactly.
in
So
2020.
Bernie, he had to, right? So it's like Bernie was cheated. And if Trump was running against her, he would have been beating her, period. But then they would have cheated for Hillary Clinton. So I don't think as the voter, we would have gotten the criticism and the insults that we were seeing as conservatives who support a Republican candidate, Donald Trump. But I think if he were running as a Democrat against Hillary Clinton back in 2016 primaries, I don't think, 15 primaries, who knows? Our elections are too freaking long. But yeah, I don't think we the voters wouldn't have gotten it.
Possibly.
He definitely would
I
have.
will
'Cause he
say,
gave Bernie a run for his money. She was disrespectful as Stocko to Bernie. Like,
She
If I were
was.
Bernie, I'd been like, frack
I will
off.
say this. I personally, I do think that if he was running as a Democrat, you wouldn't have had, because you and I agree there for sure. He wouldn't have had nearly as much vitriol. Would he have won? That's a
No, no,
different
no.
story.
He would get the
Um,
vitriol. We, as the supporter of him, wouldn't have, because Bernie Sanders
I'm-
supporters didn't
Well,
get
no,
insults
what I'm
from
saying
Hillary
is that
Clinton.
if Trump were a Democrat, I don't think he would have gotten the same thing. He wouldn't have gotten you're a Nazi. He wouldn't have gotten you're a racist. He wouldn't have gotten any of that if he was running as a Democrat. You know, it would have been a conversation of, okay, look, we like you, but this has to be Hillary's
Hillary.
win. And one of the things that I noticed, actually, because I did some research into the financial backing into our politics, just to see who really picks the candidates. And for 2016's campaign for President Trump, there was a hedge fund. He got in contact with the Trump campaign. Well, it was actually his daughter, that guy's daughter. I can't remember their names at the moment, but his daughter reached out to Ivanka and said, hey, my dad wants to sit down with your dad. Let's make that happen. They did. That gentleman who ran the hedge fund said, you're going to fire this person, and this person, and you're going to hire Kellyanne Conway. And sure enough, guess what? He got into the White House. You need to have a clear message. There was, I believe it was a comment from Celine. Was it Celine? It might have been from Mark, who said that the tech people are supporting President Trump. Well, here's the thing about that hedge fund guy. He had access to technology where he could not so much predict, but look at the behavior and the mindsets of his supporters, just so we can have a clear idea of what they're looking for. This what brings us to build the wall and better economic policies, because he was listening and looking at what people really responded to give Trump a clear message. And so you could have had the same thing with Democrats, right? You know, we need to make sure that the people understand what it is that we're saying. And that gentleman was like, that's what we need to push forward. They got that information through the technology that they had, and Trump got into the White House. Kellyanne Conway, coupled with the technology, that was a very big deal. Now, though he had the support from a hedge fund individual that made the decisions about who was going to be the person running his campaign, it obviously worked. And when he got into the White House, he did make decisions that were better for the American people, because, you know, money was way better during the Trump days than it is right now. So one of the things that I would like to see happen with Trump as it relates to bringing together all parties, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, there is that uniting factor. I would like to see the dying down of those ridiculous criticisms, because what Celine, I think she's absolutely right with these comments. They're comparing him to a dictator, and they're making Kamala Harris out to be the good guy. And one of the things that I've noticed about our political leaders is that they're not all bad, but they're not 100% the good guy. Trump, you know, wanted to be the no war candidates, and he was moving in that way. There were still some confrontations in the Middle East. We obviously saw that with Syria. I will say he didn't end it. He didn't make the situation worse. He didn't end it either, but he was not a big advocate for war either, like what you saw with previous administrations, like you saw with Obama and Bush. What you saw with the economy, you know, the numbers grew. Obviously, we know that this is one of the arguments that the left like to make. The billionaires made so much money, but the tax cut didn't just help them. It also helped the lowest of earners. So though the billionaires may benefit the most, it's a question of, do the lowest of earners benefit as well? And I think that when we're looking at the practical policy making, you're looking at the practicality of a presidency and not getting so emotional about it. Like, don't compare him to Hitler. You can say why I like this policy, why I don't like this policy. When you look at Kamala Harris, I'm not calling her the devil incarnate. I just don't think the woman is informed. I think she's a socialist, which is bad for government in the United States. That doesn't mean I'm calling her evil. I just think she's uninformed and a socialist. You know, that's not me, you know, damning her to hell here.
I was watching
that would be us being way too emotional.
I would, if I were to look at the two separate campaigns objectively, but from a Christian perspective. I had been watching this, a lot of people who had attended the Kamala Harris rally where Beyonce was performing, giving her 4-minute half-ass speech in Houston. And there was one particular reaction that I found to be compelling.
Mhm.
This is a woman who said she's on the Trump train, but she went because, it's Beyonce and it's Kamala Harris, went to see what the campaign
we
was
do have a
about. And
comment, one
she
second.
said,
From Tuppence, I just want to show this. I do have to go this time. Love you, Queens. Awesome to hang with you, Asia. See you tomorrow, Archie. See you
Anytime.
tomorrow, Tuppence, and happy birthday again.
word.
One more from Celine. Why do you think women have such a hard time with Donald Trump? I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish, and then we'll get to the question.
Yeah, I watched this one reaction to it, and she had said that she just feels a spiritual difference between Kamala Harris campaign and the Donald Trump campaign. She felt that when she went to a Donald Trump campaign, and I don't think she went to the Madison Square Garden one. I just think she had been to a different rally with Trump. And compared to what she felt when she went to the Kamala Harris one in Houston where Beyonce was, she said it felt evil. Not necessarily saying that Beyonce was evil, not necessarily saying that Kamala Harris was evil, but she definitely felt like the spirit in the room was not the Holy Spirit, right? It wasn't God. It wasn't Jesus. It was something
else.
different. And she felt like she said it in her own video. I don't know this content creator, but this is just one of those things. But I would have to agree with it. It's like, when Christina Wem said at, I believe it was a CPAC event where she said, a Goldwater loss brought a Reagan victory.
Yeah,
and
that was a good
I
one.
would have to say, I'm gonna have to say a man, let me see. I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase this because it's like, the whole point, I think that Trump was cheated in the first place, and why he was allowed to stand, because with all of the contingency plans that the founding fathers put in the Constitution, the cheating should have been undone. I mean, there's no way. Contingency on contingencies. I mean, they planned for, the treasurer to lose a foot if the money was going to go missing. I mean, they planned for everything and it failed, and it just felt like it had to happen. It had to happen. Biden had to be in office for a specific reason.
Right, because to Mark's point,
one
the commenter
person
that we had, MAGA Democrat. That's a thing now.
Yeah, and
it
it's
wouldn't have
like,
been the case if it hadn't been.
we're
for
not
Biden
saying that Kamala is evil, but who the person that is puppeteering her, right? It's not like she was called to service by Jesus. Like Trump got shot at 3 times, well, twice, but attempted assassinations 4 times. Not many people know that, but there was attempts on his life 4 times. 2 of those times there were bullets fired. 1 of those times he got shot in the head. But okay, we're not going to talk about the fact that by a millisecond this man is still alive. Still don't believe that this election is a little bit leaning towards the righteousness in this case. Like nothing is stopping him, and all of the cheating that they think that they're going to be able to pull off for Kamala, it's not going to work. I mean, they're going to try. Arizona's already saying that they need 12 days to count. And considering early voting has begun, I think so Georgia, it's 6 o'clock here.
The more time they have, the more you should not trust the final vote. The more you should trust
6 here. That means it's probably like 7 o'clock in Georgia. Voting is closed in Georgia. It's done. It's closed for early voting, at least for today. So we could literally have results for Georgia right now. Why don't we're gonna have to find that out. Well, no, I'm saying we could have early voting votes for them now. I mean, I don't know if we have them, but I'm simply saying you have these pollsters trying to convince us that Kamala and Trump are in this close race. And after hearing this black woman, right, young black woman, so it already cuts through the narrative that black women are mad at black men when you're seeing more trending videos of young black women, not old black women who are all woe is me. I'm a victim of an ism, and like
speaking of women, I do want to get to Celine's question that we have here. Why do you think women have such a hard time with Donald Trump?
Because he's brass and he says whatever the heck he wants to say, and that reminds them of how men were in the 20th century, how they could be that brass. I mean, because it's only older women who have issue with it. It's only women who
I don't even think that's it.
I'm sorry. I got to say it because I'm seeing way too many millennial, Gen Xer, and Gen Zer females, even college educated ones, leaning toward Trump. I mean, this is a thing that they just don't want to tell you. So I'm like, who are the women? What are the women that are having an issue with Donald Trump? it's the Gen Xers, majority of the Gen Xer women, and your boomer generation. And it's for one reason and one reason alone. It's like, this is the generation who grew up where this is a man's world. I mean, that's them. That they don't like that.
Well, that's
But
the thing.
today
right?
you
Right.
have young women who are like, I want a man. I don't want my president to be afraid when I'm afraid. I need him. I need him.
You know,
To
I'll say
take
this:
on the bad guy.
the women that grow
Like, you
up to
want
this
your
is a
man to
man's
go
world
down to the
love
president. Like, you
song.
hear sound in the basement, you hear someone busting through your window. What do you expect the man to do? To grab the gun and go deal with it. But I
Right.
don't want my president to be as
So-
scared as I am.
So here's the thing about it. The reason why I disagree is because prior to Trump coming down the escalator, there was never any public hatred or even a public dislike of this guy, right? We know that there were comments about
No,
Central
but
Park
that's
5. If this were a problem, why wasn't it a problem before he came down the escalator? This is why, he should apologize. Okay, here's the thing. The reason why I'm not looking for him to apologize for this is because where were you in 2012, 10, 14, 9, 8, the entirety of the 21st century when it began? Okay, the Central Park 5 was in 1990s, obviously a previous century issue. Where were you when the story first broke that they were somehow innocent? Okay, where were you? So I don't need him to apologize for that. You weren't even thinking about him apologizing or having any issues with him before he came down the escalator. And then secondly, if you were a Democrat, you'd love him. Okay, Obama gave a speech saying that black men want to be like Donald Trump. Jay-Z and Beyonce did a song talking about how they want to be at Mar-a-Lago. Young Jock said, people in the hood call me Black Donald Trump. Meet me in the hood. It's going down. That, it was a big deal for Black America. Okay. Judge Joe Brown said that when he was younger, I think it was in the 1980s or 90s. He said this on the Candace Owens podcast, where they went into a club just hanging out, and this rich white dude walks in and like, oh, who's that? Oh, that's, Trump Tower. Oh, yeah. That's the guy who owns it. He was hanging around, sitting around him were a bunch of Black dudes. He's dated Black women. He's not a racist. Okay. He's dated Black women before. He has Black friends, which I know they're not supposed to say you have Black friends. Absolutely ridiculous. Women are only finding issue with President Trump, in my opinion, because he's a Republican candidate, because he's a Republican, period. If he wasn't a Republican, you wouldn't have any issues with him. Our mother used to watch The Apprentice, and now she doesn't like him. You were not saying that. Well, I was never really a fan, but you were, because you were watching The Apprentice.
I understand.
You watched it when he was on The View. Now, I get if you weren't reading the books, right? No one really necessarily cared to read about his autobiography. Did incredibly well. There's no way. I have a hard time with him because he's a conservative. Because he's a conservative Republican, and even conservative may be a bit much to say. I think he's a liberal with common sense. I think Republican. I think that's who he is. Beyond that, I don't think that the reason why women have a hard time.
I would agree with you.
I don't think that women disagree. I don't think that they dislike him because he's of any personal characteristics. They just dislike him because they were told to not like this guy because he's a Republican candidate.
I think if it were that simple,
sometimes things are that
agree
simple.
With you.
Because if he were a Democrat, they wouldn't have hated him.
I don't think so. Here's a reason why I don't agree with that. Because they didn't throw. I'm sorry, they didn't throw that specific. They didn't throw all of this misogynic, racist stuff on John McCain. Not to say that they didn't try and slander him, but even Obama was like, no, this is a good man here. And for whatever
class, one could say.
I understand. I understand that, but McCain could play the political game, the way he spoke, the way he behaved, the way that he acted. I mean, he was groomed for politics, where Trump was groomed to be a businessman. And the way the business atmosphere is slightly different than the public persona of politicians, of politics. And so even Obama had to come out in front to defend John McCain when they tried to smear him as a racist. So I don't believe that it's that simple, even with Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I don't. I believe that women in this country, older women, because I think for 2016 to 2022, you could say majority of women, of all age and race demographics. But I think they found a way to attach every bad stereotype and characteristic of men of yesteryear. And when I say yesteryear, I don't mean 80s or 90s. I mean men the 1800 type men, where they would want women to mimic their every thought and ego and all of that. I mean, they attached all of that onto him as a candidate because they knew that this is a man that could get a whole bunch of votes. And because they were able to just totally take on, like, they knew they couldn't beat him because he's the businessman, right? He's the one that everybody wants to be. He is the American dream personified. And so because he's the American dream personified, we got to turn that image. We have to poison that image and make that image. And they had to make that image about all of the stereotypes of men in general.
Yeah,
right?
I understand that.
But they did not do that to John McCain or Mitt Romney. I mean, the things that they said about Donald Trump. I mean, the only time we've ever heard that, and you and I, and not even in our lifetime, you and I have only heard it via quotes or YouTube clips of newsreels against Reagan.
Okay, so I'm suggesting, however, is exactly what you're saying, that they had to turn the image of Trump into a negative. That would mean people didn't dislike him, and now they do because they were told, which is exactly what I'm saying. Women only have a problem with this man because they were told to have a problem with him. Prior to him coming down the escalator, there was never, at least to my knowledge,
the way he talks and the way
the exception.
Yeah, but Arshel, this is okay. So here's where we're disagreeing, because it's because of who he is as a man. For 30, 50 years, they've been destroying masculinity. They've been saying alpha maleism is toxic.
Yeah,
so it wasn't just about it's not just putting the history and worst of men from yesteryear onto him. It's by simply saying that this characteristic, and by saying to women, because the issue is about women and why they have a problem with him. Women have always had a problem, or certain women, right? Boomers, Gen Xers, because they're the ones that were abused.
I understand.
So they're the ones who were like, Trump is just an echo of my abuser. He's an echo and that's just because of what they've seen and heard from him.
Okay,
so never mind what the mainstream media is saying about it. I'm not saying that that's not a part of it. The propaganda isn't part of it. But if it's like, if there's a woman who's been abused if there's been a woman who's been abused and beaten by a man, and then she sees Trump and he's all grabbing by the P word and he's brash and he's this and he's that, that's all she needs to see. And then you add day on day coverage.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. I don't even think you and I are disagreeing here. Before the manipulation in the media, no one had a reason not to like him. There was only one woman that did not like.
You didn't need to manipulate the grabbing by the P word video.
No, because it has been manipulated. People think he just said you can grab women by the P word, and that's not what he said. What he said was, when you're rich and famous, women will let you grab them by the P word. Like, that was a manipulation of the words. So again, if the media and the manipulation of the media and certain fragmented clips,
you clarified that with boomers, and that still didn't matter. The fact that he said you can grab them by the P word alone is what bothered them.
Because
it was
offensive. Because it's not that they don't know that what he's saying is true. If they knew what he was saying,
change their offense.
No. Because
it didn't change their offense.
Boomers understand that there is such a thing known as a groupie. Boomers understand that there is such a thing as.
I understand what you're saying. They get that, but it didn't change their offense.
Nope. The point that I'm making is, before he came down the escalator, no one disliked him except for Candace Bergen's character, Murphy Brown. There was never nothing. Okay.
No, not true. Patti LuPone never liked him.
Patti LuPone. Well, that's what she said when he was running for election. I don't know what she thought prior to him coming down the escalator, but that's the point.
Well, she said, I never liked the guy.
She never liked the guy, but we don't even know if she's telling the truth, because she's never actually made any comments.
I'm sorry,
I can't even say that I do, because I know when you and I were first getting involved in politics, we didn't like this guy, right? We didn't like him. Oh, I don't like Trump because he hates everything that he says. But prior to him coming down the escalator,
but a stone cold feminist, like, that's why Murphy Brown didn't like him.
No, but this is the point. No, you're not. No. The point that I'm making is, you and I were liberals. We were Hillary supporters, and prior to him coming down the escalator, we never had a reason not to like this man. We watched The Apprentice. We were people who enjoyed the stuff he was creating. We were someone who listened to the hip hop. I want to be like Trump. They call me Black Trump. Yeah. I want to be at Mar-a-Lago. We've never had any reason not to like this guy until we were told as liberals not to like him. And then we educated ourselves and realized that was a lie. Women only have a problem with him because they were told not to like him. And for some women to say that they're independent, not according to your brains, because if that were the case, you would actually look at the policies, you would look at the man as a policy maker, as a leader, not as a man who slept with a porn star, because I don't care. Right? When we're not being emotional, when we're not being manipulated, when we're not being told, you and I decided to not like this guy because we were told. We're told not to like him. Women only have problems with this man because we were manipulated by the mainstream media. Had he not run for office, no one would have no issue with him except for Candace Bergen and Murphy Brown, because she was the only one, to my knowledge, that didn't like him. Beyond that, I didn't see no black people saying anything about him. I didn't see mainstream media saying anything about him. I know they wanted to interview him, though. I know they wanted him on their show, though. I know that he had The Apprentice up there, though. I know that he had the Celebrity Apprentice, where both everybody who was conservative, liberal, which we didn't know if anybody was a conservative, was on The Apprentice. He had the ratings. He gives the network ratings. No one had a problem with this man until he came down the escalator. Women were only disliking him because they were told not to like him. The second they come to their own senses, they realize, maybe there's more to this guy than what the media is telling them to do. I'm not convinced that women are, to their own minds, don't like this guy. I just don't believe that. No, you're told not to like him, so you don't. You're told he's coming after your bodily autonomy, so you don't. You're told he's a xenophobe. You're told he's a Nazi. You're told he doesn't like black people. You're told he doesn't like women. You're told he said you can just grab women by the P word. You're told that he said that people are good on both sides, all of which are lies.
And
You're
so,
told not to like them, therefore they don't.
okay, so
It's that simple.
you're conflating to say that it
No,
wasn't
I'm
a
saying
lie
these
for
are
him
all
to
the lies
say
that were
grab him
told,
by
not
the
by
P
the
word.
woman.
That was true.
No,
That he
no,
said grab him
no.
by- It
No.
was true.
No,
Okay,
he said when you're
Marshall,
rich and famous,
you can
women
grab
will
them
let
by
you.
the you can grab them by the P word.
Women
Women
will
will let
let
you do
you
anything to them,
if
even
you're rich
grab
and
them
famous.
by the P word. No,
That's
he
what he
said if
said.
you're rich and he said verbatim, if you are rich and famous, women will let you do anything to them, even grab them by the P word. That's what he said, verbatim. That is the quote. So
Right.
it's not a lie when people say he said grab them by the P word. They just
No,
left out when you're rich, women will let you grab them by the P word.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
ultimately,
Manipulation of
but
words.
it's manipulation of words is not a lie. He did say grab him by your P
No,
word. I'm just saying,
if-
I'm just making that clear. I'm just making that clear.
Screw
Now,
that.
with that being
You're-
said, because you said a
you're
mouthful, I'm
lying.
not really going to go into the mouthful that you said. All I'm going to say is that these women were like sleeper cells. They were a bunch of hardcore stone cold feminists. They liked the guy until they really started to expose what it's like behind the scenes in media. They showed what it was like behind the scenes, how the men could be, and he was exactly what their abusers and what men of yesteryear are. They are territorial. They are brass. They say what they want, how they want, where they want, when they want. They do what they want. And feminists hate that. And your boomers and your Gen Xers are stone cold feminists. It's not just that they were told to not like him. It's that they were already trained to hate that type of men, that they were raised to hate those men because they're stone cold feminists. And
I'm
so
not
your
saying
issue,
that isn't true.
yeah,
I'm not saying that that isn't true.
you're saying that they were told to hate him, and I'm saying they weren't told to hate him. They were sleeper cells. They were feminists from childhood to adulthood. You have a man here who refuses to be soft, and he is everything alpha, and that is their feminism kicking in. They didn't have to be told to not like him when they heard the grab him by the P word tape. They instinctively were offended because they heard the grab him by the P word tape. Irrelevant to the fact that the mainstream media was trying to spin it in some, notorious, sadistic kind of a thing. They already hated him by hearing it themselves. And so I'm just saying, I don't think it's that simple to say that the mainstream media were taught to hate him. I think that the mainstream media taught women. I think women in general, Gen Xers and boomers, were stone cold feminists. Donald Trump is the very thing. He is the enemy. He's like the personification of alpha maleism. And that is everything that feminists have been fighting since the 70s. And this is the guy running for president. And so now every woman must hate him. And it was like instinctively, like a switch was flipped. The second he came down the escalator and the media was like, he's what you hate because he's this type and he's this that way in the third. Because remember, the first few months of his campaign,
so but that's
no
what I'm saying.
no one was bitching about him. No one was really bitching about him. Women in general weren't bitching about him until
they were
they
told.
grabbed him by the P word. Until they grabbed him by the P
Again,
word.
So
The grab by the P word came out, and then all the women were coming out the
So
word.
they were told
because post that, pre that, women weren't saying shit.
But that's
Talking
what I'm
mushrooms,
saying.
excuse me,
So
French.
I'm just not convinced that women would have disliked him to the rate that they are disliking
I
him
think
now.
feminists would have on their own.
Yeah,
You're
but
not going to
yeah,
convince me that women like Gloria Steinem
So
are in
here's
their
the thing
age
about the
bracket.
feminists. So here's the
Do
thing about the
you
feminists.
think that let's take the media propaganda out of it? Do you think women like Gloria Steinem still would have liked this guy?
I'm not talking about people like Gloria Steinem. I'm talking about actual
No, I'm
regular
talking
everyday
about
women.
I'm talking about the feminist thinking of Gloria Steinem. Do you not the wealth, not the
Or like the women who think
what's
like
the
Gloria
word? Not
Steinem.
the status. Yes. Do you think women who think like Gloria Steinem and what's her name? About to call her for Ferdinand. That's not her name.
Betty Friedan. That's what to call her.
Do you think
The bull. That's
but do
funny.
you think regular women who thought that way would have liked this guy without the media propaganda?
I think that when
'Cause
you're
I
looking
sure as
at,
the heck don't think so.
I think that when you're looking at millennials, absolutely, for sure. I think millennial women, because when I look at these women,
that's I never said millennial women. I didn't say millennial and Gen Zers are able to kind of think differently because the new age of feminism.
Okay,
I put it in air quotes.
that's what I'm saying. So I'm talking
different.
about the women, like we're talking about women today. I'm not talking about the women who are not interested in getting married or are too old to have babies. I'm not talking about them at all. I'm talking
but her question,
about
she asked the question, why do we think women? And I said, I'm not really seeing it with millennial and Gen Zer women because I think that they're leaning towards Trump.
right.
It's the older women, and
Well, no,
that's
because
when
the
I
thing,
was saying I don't think they're being
So-
taught to hate him. I think their feminism is what makes
so
them not like
we
him.
just saw in that clip, and I did show the clip of the Kamala Harris ad with the popular balloon. Because he's not voting for Kamala Harris because he's not, well, he's not. He said he's not voting in the ad, but it also showed that they popped their balloon because he's not voting for Kamala Harris. It's not so much that he's not voting at all; it's that he's not voting for her. And if you don't vote for Kamala Harris, you're not going to get a girlfriend. This is seeming to be the case here. And so those are obviously young women. Now, one of the things that I noticed about young women, however,
that's not fair. Those are paid actors. That's
most likely. So here's the thing about it, right? Because I think that ad was absolutely stupid. I don't think it's true at all. Sorry
it
about
was,
that.
and it's highly
it's
unrealistic.
Yeah, but here's the point that I'm making about this. It's that I do agree. It's unrealistic what she was saying because young women like men with money. Young women are going on these shows saying that they want men with money. And so do I think that the feminist ideology is going to kick in when they see a man with money? No. I don't think it's going to kick in. They want to be with these men. Like Andrew Tate, this is before anybody knew who Andrew Tate was. He was doing the Fresh and Fit podcast.
We're not disagreeing on millennial and Gen Z women.
Yes,
I think
that's what I'm saying. I'm only speaking to the women who are speaking about women in the dating market. Okay. So women, as of right now, the numbers are showing women care more about abortion rights than they do about any other issue. And so that shows is they're having more issues with Trump than they are with Kamala Harris. Why is that the case? Why are women struggling to have any kind of a, liking towards Trump or having a difficult time wanting to vote for Trump? And here's the thing. It's purely because they're told not to like him. They are lied to about what his ideas are, what his policies are. Some of the policies that they lie about when it comes, for example, the abortion issue. They lie about his position. The things that they say are supposedly his position, I wish were his position on the abortion issue. I wish he was going to support an abortion ban. But that's why I'm voting for Rob Bresnahan for my state, simply because he supports an abortion ban. It's like, right, Trump doesn't, but the guy I want to vote for senator does. The guy that I want to vote for Congress does. Trump doesn't, but the people I want to vote for do. I don't need him to do it if I got other people who are willing to get it done. The left are lying about his position, which seems to be hurting him with women, not at the high rates that men not voting for Kamala hurts Kamala. So obviously that seems to be a case there. What I will say is because they're being lied to about what his ideas are, this is why they don't support him.
just
So
to wrap this question up anyway, I'm gonna have to
mhm.
say, yeah, she was asking, what do I think about what we think about women having a hard time with Donald
Yeah.
Trump? And I was making the point that I don't think young women, millennial and Gen Z women, are having an issue with thinking for themselves and moving toward Donald Trump. I'm not buying that. I'm seeing way too much of a trend of young women across all races, including Black women, which was a shocker as like nobody's
Right.
business, leaning toward not voting Kamala or voting for Donald Trump, not even voting in third party at a protest, but simply just voting for Trump or not at all. I mean, we're seeing women across the races
We're saying, yeah,
lean
that
that
might be the
way.
case, but it's
Young women. And so
mhm.
to answer her question, Celine's question, yeah, I'm not seeing that issue with younger women, millennial and Gen Z women. I'm only seeing that issue with older women who are Gen Xers and boomers. And reason being is because they were stone cold feminists and they've had this issue since 2016. The second he came down there and he was alpha male personified, the definition of it personified, their feminism kicked in. And then you can add on the propaganda after the fact, but you're not going to convince me that these women needed to be told to hate him when for
I
decades
am
they were raised to believe that they were the alphas and that men are stocko, they are expendable, you can do what you want. You have a man who's about protection, who's about
so
security
I'm
and being
not
about his business, that
convinced.
he hates you. He doesn't want you to have liberty over your body and that you should do anything you want to do as a female. And any
So
man who stands in that way is a threat.
oh, okay.
And
Waiting.
Gen
There you are.
Xers, boomers and Gen Xers, they are the ones who are having the hard time with Donald Trump. And
Okay,
I'm going to quote
so
Anton Daniels on this, leave the old ones behind.
so
That's my ending on that question. Just going to leave it there for me.
Trump's not going to get, I don't think he's going to get majority women. I don't even think he's going to get majority Black. The numbers are going to go down dramatically for Kamala Harris, but just because they go down dramatically doesn't mean he's going to win the majority of those
No,
particular
he's only going to
groups.
get 12%. I think he's only getting 12%
Right.
of the
So
Black
if you
vote.
don't get the majority, it means you didn't do it. And so the majority is suggesting that there's a problem with women. Why are they having an issue with Trump? Well, it's because they were told to. It's
Yeah,
just
but the
what it is.
goalpost for Trump was never about getting the majority
Yeah, I
of their vote.
understand
It
that.
was about taking 12% of the Black vote
Yeah,
and
I
taking at
understand that.
least 20% of the women's vote. And it's
I
looking like that's the case.
I understand that that was the goalpost. The point that I'm making is that the reason why the majority have issue is because they were told to. Prior to him coming down the escalator, the majority didn't have a problem. Now,
Because the
because he's
majority
the candidate,
are older people.
yeah, I don't think it's because the majority are older people. No, I don't.
I
think
mean,
that at
that's
all.
just true. Statistically, that is just true. There's more
don't
old
think-
people in this.
no,
That's
I
Elon
don't-
Musk's
I
whole
don't-
point, is that we're not producing enough babies. We've been murdering since the damn 60s in the womb.
Okay,
There are more
but-
people who are
okay,
older than
so
they're
we're
young.
okay,
That's
so
why
as it
we're
relate-
importing
okay,
a lot of
so as
young
it relates
people.
to the voting age, the majority not voting for Trump because they were told not to. Now, he's still going to win because you don't need the majority Black vote to win. You don't need the majority women vote to win when you've got all the other groups of the American people who are willing to vote for him. Obviously,
No,
we
but
know.
you did need a percentage of the women when we
I'm
know
not
that
saying that
women
you
have
don't need
the
a percentage.
majority
That's
of
not
the
what I'm saying at
country.
all. I'm not saying that you don't need a percentage. You do need a percentage. This is why he had to decrease the numbers. He decreased the Black vote from Kamala compared to what it was for Joe Biden in his favor. He depleted some of the numbers for Kamala for women to go towards him. I'm not speaking of the fact that he brought the numbers down against Kamala to go in his favor. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that the majority of Black people don't like him. The majority of women don't like him or just don't want to vote for him. That's what this is. Why is that the case? Because they were told to. It is that simple. They were told to believe a lie. They did. It is as simple as that. Prior to them being
I'll give
lied
you that
to
with
about
Black
the guy,
people, but I won't give that to you for women.
no, I think we're more likely to believe a lie because we've been lied to about feminism, because we were told that masculinity is a problem, that somehow, not to say that promiscuity is an issue. We obviously had a problem with
if you
that.
were
But
raised to believe that reality was actually like you were living, if
I'm
you were
not-
raised to believe that you were living in Narnia, did you really need someone to tell you you were living in Narnia, or were you just raised that way?
I don't know what you're asking.
I'm making a point. Like, if you're raised to believe a delusion, did you need someone to affirm it and confirm the delusion for you later, or
If
did
you
you
were
just believe
raised
the
in a
delusion?
delusion, someone to tell you that you're living in a delusion was more so someone had to tell you that you're not
Right,
living in a
but
delusion.
now,
You don't need someone
right,
to
but now you
affirm that
didn't have,
fact. Well, not the fact, but
right,
to
but
affirm
now
you're
I
living in a
don't,
delusion when you already believe it.
right. So
Someone
now
tells
if
you
you
the truth and you don't
encounter,
believe it, then you need the
right,
affirmation.
but now the fact of the matter is, did you need someone to confront? Like, did you need someone to tell you to hate someone who confronted your delusion, or did you just instinctively hate the person who confronted your delusion?
I think
Like,
people
that's
were
the
told
question.
to hate him. People were
But if
told
you
to hate
were,
him.
that's yeah, we're just gonna
No
have to
one was
agree to
told that
disagree.
this man was had toxic masculinity. No,
No,
no
but
one.
since the 70s, you were taught masculinity was
Yeah, but
toxic.
when he came down the escalator, it wasn't until the media was like, he is everything we were told to hate. If they didn't say
No,
he
I
was
mean, all you had to
everything
do
that,
was
if
say
he
women are
didn't,
using
no,
abortion
if
like birth
if
control,
no
and I
one
can
had
grab them by the
said,
P word. That's all that had to happen.
if no one in the media had said that this man is everything that we were told to hate, you wouldn't hate him. It's like, it's because someone told you this guy is the personification of toxic masculinity, racism, cronyism. This is why you should not like him. Everything he represents what you don't like. He represents sexism. He represents misogyny. He
We're
represents
just gonna
racism and
on this
cronyism.
on this question, we're gonna disagree.
I'm like, if no one told you not to like him, no one would have disliked him to begin with.
I don't buy that. I give women a little bit more credit. Well,
Someone
boomer
had to
women.
tell me he symbolically is everything I hated. Because before that, we loved the guy. You have to convince me
Yeah, but-
that what I thought
Yeah.
of him isn't
not-
true.
I'm
Like-
not going to engage in this question anymore, but yeah, we're gonna
Yeah, we're gonna
disagree
have
on that
this.
one.
I just think women believed what they were told until we came to our
Yeah,
own.
I give women a little bit more credit than that. But yeah, like I said, we'll disagree on that.
I'm like, I had
in
to
my
come to my senses. I had to learn why I was lied
Yeah,
to.
but you weren't raised in the
No,
what
I was
we
a
were
modern
raised in.
feminist, is what I used to say. Big fan of Katherine Hepburn. I
Because
was a modern
yeah,
feminist.
and here's the thing about modern feminism. It was BS.
Yeah, I
to
understand
me.
that, but that's the
It
point that
meant
I'm making.
nothing. It had no legs to stand on. It's like
Yeah, but that's the point that I'm making.
Christianity today. It's like modern. It's like modern Christianity or hip Christianity. It's
Yeah,
got no legs to stand
yeah,
on.
that-
It's
but that's
got
what I-
no
but that's-
rules. It's got
Yeah, but
nothing to
that-
stand on, like at
But
all.
but that's exactly what I'm saying. I believed in a lie, and because I believed in that lie, when the media told me that Trump is everything that this lie I believe is what he represents, it made it easier to
Right,
not
but
like him.
there's no way you're gonna
Prior,
yeah,
when he
but
came down
old
the
school
escalator,
feminism.
it was like,
Yeah, old
holy
school
crap.
feminism had some legs to stand on. That's
Yeah, it was
why it was.
laughable when
That's
he
why
came
it was
down the
able to stand.
escalator, and then I hated him because they told me to hate him. I knew what I didn't like
Yeah,
because I was a
because
modern
you
feminist.
you were
I just
different.
laughed when he came down the escalator.
Our generation is different. We're not the Gen Xers. We're not the boomers.
Yeah, I
We're
understand that.
we
Again.
had a particular different type of life experience that just allowed us to wise up. They did not.
Because they're
And
victims of isms,
that type of
because they were victims of isms.
but
you
in
know?
all fairness, in some cases, yes. Like, I mean, if you were
Right, but
violated,
they
you
still
if you
didn't
weren't allowed a
decide-
job at AT&T, I mean, the women who were actually denied a job should have had a legitimate lawsuit. All women
don't know.
suing them, not
I
so
don't know.
much.
We got another one from Celine. We can't have Kamala's freak show daughter in the White House.
I don't even know who her daughter is. I just remember her stepdaughter because that's not her.
I
kid.
just remember the
That's her
SNL skit, and it was funny. She just looked weird. It's like, why does she look like
Didn't
that?
some
Why is she
dude
dressed
play
like
the daughter?
I think
Didn't some
so.
dude play the
I
daughter?
think so. And it was funny
Wow.
as heck. She's,
I just I don't
I don't know if she's
they're in the
any-
last
I don't think
stretch.
she's a hunter.
I'll say this before I
think
go
she's a
because
hunter.
I'm starving.
Hi,
I haven't
Arlene.
eaten-
Beautiful name. Hi, Arlene.
Hi, Arlene. Beautiful name. I
Mhm.
don't get when it comes to Kamala Harris campaign. I mean, this is like, because again, next week is election day,
Indeed.
November 5th. I did watch Shazam on Megyn Kelly's podcast.
I can't even believe
think
he went
it
on
came
it,
on-
yo. I stopped.
Yeah, I'm not
subscribing to
surprised.
Megyn.
He
I was
said-
kind of surprised though.
I did too, but I was seeing all this back and forth between,
Mhm.
Megan and Bill Maher. And then when I was scrolling Megyn Kelly to see if she posted the
slaughtered,
full
by the
thing,
way.
I saw that Shazam was on and he was talking about how he hosted a town hall. He was like, he had prayed about it. Like, should he enter this fray? Should he get involved in politics? Because he was an RFK guy and he was doing a lot for his campaign. And then he backed out and voted for and was backing Trump. And then he came out to say, he said he was praying about, asking God, like, is this something that I should be doing? Should I enter the fray? Should I do this? He said, like a few minutes later, I got a call, literally got a call from Kamala Harris, from Tulsi Gabbard. And she said, hey, me and Bobby are going to be doing a town hall. Would you like to moderate it? It was like, he's like, so I prayed on it again. And he was like, you know what? I felt like God was calling me to enter this fray. He's like, listen, I've had people in Hollywood say, don't worry, do what you're going to do. We're going to support you. We'll always hire you if we got a role for you. So he's not worried about that. But he was pretty much saying how that there's a coalition there. I don't agree with the Avengers.
I don't like it either. I call them the Justice League.
They are the Justice. It just makes more sense. It just does. I mean, this nonsense that Donald Trump is Captain America. I'm like, no. I mean, yes, but no. That's not. It's because Tulsi Gabbard is not ScarJo. No,
she's not
she
Black
is
Widow.
Wonder Woman. She's from an island. She's got an act. You know, she's got the melanin.
Yep.
She's a soldier. She's Wonder Woman. This is the GCU. That's
RFK tweeted when she joined the coalition.
He said Wonder Woman just joined the team.
Joined the team. Just joined.
Right. He didn't say Black Widow. What is Black Widow? A liar, thieving spy. That's Kamala. Sorry. An assassin. That sounds like some chick on the left. Sorry, that is not
Russian. By the way, I might also add.
Zachary Levi was saying that this is a coalition of people, a team where we can actually see him drain the swamp, which is something he said he wanted to do, but he couldn't do because he hired the wrong people, didn't have enough time for transition. But now he knows where everybody's going. Elon Musk is going to do the audit, if you will. Tulsi Gabbard is going to be looking as far as I think she should be SecDef. Like, that just makes sense.
That'd be awesome.
RFK, he's got some crazy ass ideas when it comes to energy, so he's not touching that. But he is going to be looking at the food and going to war with the FDA and the CDC. Like, he can go to war with Big Pharma. That's your role. Vivek Ramaswamy is probably going to be looking at him, and Elon, I expect, to be working hand in hand together. I hope Tucker Carlson becomes press secretary. Not even going to lie. That would just be amazing. That
would be amazing.
It would be lit.
Great communicator.
And you know what? The beauty about all of these people, if Zachary Levi gets on, if Shazam enters,
what I want to have happen?
If they enter it, if he enters it, what it's going to look like is his top picks, this team that he's built around him. Every last one of them can go without a salary. Every last one of them can go without a salary
because they make good money.
And they can
say this at the inauguration ball, he should have Tom McDonald come out and do You Missed. That's all I need.
I was mad that you're at Madison Square Garden and you don't have Tom McDonald come out.
Thank God the left can't aim. Thank God the right don't riot. Welcome to the Hope of the Brave. It's like, love that song.
Right. That was
Bitch, you missed.
You missed. I mean,
sometimes,
and I know Trump heard it.
Yeah, because they actually met. They actually did.
They did meet. And I know he saw the signal. He signed it for Tom McDonald. I'm like, I know you heard this, Trump. You keep coming out here with Fighter. And don't get me wrong, I love the song Fighter. But You Missed is what was needed. In New York, of all places, that was the place.
Is back. I have returned. Hi, Tuppence.
Hey, Tuppence. Yeah, that was the place for You Missed. That was the place for it. But as I was saying, I just think, the differences between Kamala and Trump's campaign, he's very creative with his. I mean, he's going on all these different podcasts, not afraid to sit down for 3-hour interviews. I mean, he was late to one of his rallies and he said that the reason why that I was late is because I did a 3-hour podcast and they were saying to me, Mr. President, we can't cancel tonight. And I'm like, no, I'm not canceling my people. Right. I'm going out there. So he apologized for being late. He also talked about how he was willing to go into the not so safe spaces, and I'm not talking about podcasts. I'm talking about areas where he can get
enemy
shot.
Territory and did the Madison Square Garden. Like, that's one of the things I don't like about Kamala Harris.
What is the matter with she goes on the Hawk Tuohy podcast. That's what she does. But
only that she was making the accusation, and you and I were saying this. I've been saying this since they had their debate. Like, it was quite obvious to me this woman doesn't need another debate. First of all, winners don't ask for a rematch. They quit while they were ahead. She did not do that. They kept saying she won. Well, she won. Why is she asking for a rematch? That's the first thing. The second thing is, it's clear to me that she doesn't need
and all of this she was doing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Her face, she was just like overperforming, trying to compensate for the lack of ideas she actually had. And then she did have the backup. What should have been a slaughtering turned into death by 1,000 cuts. Because what was made clear after that debate was she doesn't need another debate. She needs more interviews. Since then,
rumor has it, I think it was Axios that reported on it. Apparently, she was having these mock dinners where they were showing her how to have a conversation with donors for the campaign, how to hold the glass of wine, how to talk to someone for conversation to raise money.
Absolutely phony.
When I heard that, I was like, wait,
that's the thing about it,
she
right?
can't even have a conversation in
because
private.
Because she's phony. That's one of the things that we actually know about her. So she's absolutely phony.
I
None
mean,
of
in
her
public,
ideas
yeah,
are
I just
actually
didn't
her
expect that
ideas.
bad in
She
private.
doesn't know how to behave. And here's the thing: Trump, doesn't need etiquette lessons. The man is a cheeseburger guy. He loves McDonald's. Like, he doesn't do none of that. She does,
That
because she
sounds
thinks
good
she
with
has
her.
to put on an act in order to wow them. If you can't wow them with your ideas, if you can't wow them with your support, obviously she can't, then you have to prove that you can be something that obviously you're not. What I will say, however, is that what was obvious to me after that debate she had with Trump was that she needed more interviews. That was a big accusation. Prior to the debate, after the debate, she needed more interviews.
Blitz week?
That she was doing all these ridiculous interviews. She was going to more YouTubers, she was going to podcasters, she was doing all these other videos and interviews, pre-recorded, highly unbelievably edited. We saw that with the 60 Minutes one. Trump even made accusations about that should have been problematic. All these problems with her interviews.
Yeah.
Then she was invited to do the Dave Ramsey interview, both her and Trump. Trump goes, she doesn't. Trump said, yeah, she's not coming. Don't hold your breath, essentially. And obviously she didn't show up. That was the whole thing. He's a financial personality on YouTube, on the radio. He's specifically talking economic policies, financial policies. She doesn't have any real answers to give in depth about what she plans to do, except for, I'm not going to tax tips, which is Trump's. What are you going to do for small businesses? Exactly. She can't answer those questions. Now she was invited to go to Joe Rogan. And I even said, we saw mad hype behind Kamala Harris and the Brett Baier Fox interview. A lot of hype for something that was not going to deliver. First of all, there should not even be this much hype. There should only be ever this kind of hype if she is sitting down with one of the bigger YouTube personalities. That's why when we saw Megyn Kelly moderate the debate for the Republican primary, for example, Trump wasn't there. He was sitting down with Tucker Carlson. That interview got a lot of hype. The debate got a lot of hype, not so much for the candidates, but because you had Megyn Kelly moderating. Joe Rogan and Trump, a lot of hype. Why? Because it's Trump.
I remember when that debate was happening, and I said, I'm only watching because it's Megyn. Like,
right. It's like, and even Glenn Beck said the same thing. I don't care about this primary debate. I am only really watching because Megyn Kelly is moderating. And even then,
you want to see an independent podcast media.
That's the thing, right? I
really put up the effort to handle a presidential debate. And that was the whole point of that.
Once I saw that the Tucker Carlson and the Trump interview was starting, I switched channels. Okay, I'm watching that now. Not to say that won't come back, but there are no breaks.
I didn't care for that interview.
It's not so much whether or not we cared for it. This is a question of, was there hype behind the interview? There was. Was there hype behind the debate that Megyn Kelly moderated? Of course there was. This was the first time a debate happened with an independent media personality. That happened because Megyn was there. The only reason why they got all those views was because of Megyn. Glenn Beck said the same thing.
Trump I have to say it.
Kamala didn't do that. She
would
down
think
with Club Shay. And funnily enough, hang on one second. I just want to point out the numbers here for the Club Shay interview with Kamala Harris. So the numbers for Club Shay and Kamala Harris, it's 1 million views one day ago. Now, yesterday when I looked at those numbers, it was less than 500,000. When it was Joe Rogan and Donald Trump, within the day that it was finished, recorded, aired, it was over 1 million views just in the day that it was recorded and posted. With Kamala Harris and Club Shay, it's 1 million today. So not that much hype. And then she didn't go to Joe Rogan, which she might have gotten the views, but hey, he's got more male viewers. I'd say that Club Shay doesn't, but he doesn't have nearly as much star power in the YouTube
Club Shay is
Joe Rogan
he is solely a black or sports talker. Like he'll have athletes.
We'll never have Candace on the show.
Black folks on there. He won't ever have Candace on. I mean, maybe he will. I mean, who knows? I mean, after they tried to,
he does.
I mean, no lie. I mean, after Hollywood pretty much tries to convince all of America and the world that this big black alpha male, is a gay man, all because you said Oprah may have done dirt. Yeah, I would have Candace on in a hot second just because. But he decided not to do that. And
Yep.
you know what I find ironic is that the party that is about creativity is the party failing to be creative in a campaign. And then when it is time to get creative and they finally do dabble their toe in it, they don't notice the obvious problem. Like, I keep bringing it back to the call her daddy, but I swear that was the one that
The
just
worst thing she could have done, yo.
I don't even like this broad. And I would have been like, Madam Vice President, this is not a good idea. Men don't like you already. And the last thing you need is to be on a podcast. And then it was like, a lot of people were still watching Fox News. And it was on Fox News where the guy said, one of the pundits or the talk personalities were saying, Kamala Harris is the original Hot Tui girl. And Dagny, or Dagnan, however you pronounce her name, she was like, that's just awful to say. But even she had to laugh at it because even she's like, yeah, we know her past. We know her history. Everyone kept saying, oh, we're not going to talk about her sexual history. But if you believe that men aren't going to think about it, you're sadly mistaken, Madam Vice President. Don't do it. That was like the biggest mistake. She finally gets creative, and that's the decision that she chose to make. And this is the party that is in alignment with an industry whose job is to be creative. That just made absolutely no sense to me. And I'm like, I find it that the party about blue collar workers, about physical labor, getting up there, the ones who build civilization. That's what this party is about. That's who's in this party, people who put in manual labor. And this is the party that gets creative with the Madison Square Garden, that gets creative with memes, that literally found the term, that literally called his new administration the Justice League of America. I mean, right. What are you going to do? Elon Musk is Bruce Wayne, by the way.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't think he's Bruce Wayne. I think he's Lex Luthor. And
Oh,
we're
he's
just waiting.
definitely. Well, no, I'm saying as far as the Justice League of America is concerned, like he's who would I say he is? He's definitely not Superman, but he is a guy that Gotham for Elon is his businesses. It isn't.
I
a
am
state, it isn't
suspicious
a
of
nation per
Elon,
se.
so
I'm not saying not to be. I'm not saying not to be. I'm not saying he isn't suspicious. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just simply saying that everyone's saying that he's Superman, not true. Everyone calling him Iron Man or Tony Stark, not believable. I buy him. I say that he's Batman because he's just dark enough. He's that selfish enough. And he really only does good for Gotham. And in this case, Gotham for Elon is his family and his businesses. No more, no less.
I
The second Gotham is safe.
I refrain from calling him any member of the Justice League. In
Well, I
fact,
mean,
when
but
I am
that's
referring to the
political.
real life Justice League, I don't actually include him in it.
I mean, but you
I
can't
only
have-
look at Tucker, Tulsi, and RFK. I don't look at I don't consider him to be a part of the real life
billionaire
Justice
who's
League.
that selfish. You don't.
He could
you don't.
also be Lex Luthor. So that's why I don't consider him
But
to
Lex
be.
Luthor isn't a Justice League member.
That's why I don't consider him to be in the real life Justice League.
So what? You just think that we're up against Darkseid and Lex Luthor is just here to help?
Yep. Until I'm proven otherwise, he is Lex Luthor.
Yeah, we'll
I
have to
believe
agree.
he's Lex.
disagree
We
on that.
support the First Amendment. I'm just waiting for him to use it in his favor and against ours. Like Lex Luthor would support the Second Amendment, but let's not forget, he's only supporting the Second Amendment because he wants to take a shot at Superman. And this is where we disagree. Right.
Yeah,
I'm
you and I are
suspicious.
definitely gonna. I'm not saying not to be suspicious. I do find him suspicious as well, and it's really because he wore the Baphomet.
That's why
there
he's
are
not,
moments, there are those things.
That's number one, but
but
there are
with
other reasons, but that's why he's suspicious.
No,
and
I
why
get
don't
you.
call
His
him Batman.
beliefs bother you. He believes in transhumanism as it relates to, upgrading the mental psyche, not so much, the physical brain
Right.
power of a human
So,
being, not necessarily
I
transgender.
don't- Right.
But and
Useful,
as relates
so
to
he's
your
not-
feelings, relates to our faith, that is still an abomination. He is not Christian. He is very much atheist based off
Right.
his business
So
tactics.
not
And
a
I
hero.
don't appreciate that he's building an entire race
Right,
that
so
he
again,
intends to
not-
enslave right now, because he doesn't
So
look
he's
at them
not a
as
hero,
species, a
but
sentient
he's
species.
not quite the villain either. So,
I hear what you're saying. I'm
that's
not
what I'm
saying he's not
so
suspicious, but I
think
can
he's
still,
gonna
I would
do good.
personally,
think
I
he's
would
gonna
still
do
call him
good
Batman.
work. Yeah, so I don't call him Batman. I think he's going to do good work for the American people.
Mhm.
Time will tell. But I
Yeah.
do think from what I've seen of just the conversation between him and President Trump, I do think he could do good work for the American people. I'm suspicious of him, but this could work in our favor We do have some things in alignment that could work out for us. Again, I'm suspicious of him, but I think we should always be suspicious. And, it's quite possible that how I feel about Elon is how we should feel about all the political people. I mean,
Not just all political
not,
people. I personally think you should be
um,
suspicious of anybody who's accumulated that amount of power, not necessarily
I'll
wealth,
say
but
that amount of power, that amount of influence, I do think that we should be
warrants
skeptical
skepticism.
and hold
Yeah.
them to task. I think that when we fawn
Yeah.
and fangirl over them, we lose sight
Oh, yeah.
of the truth of the matter. And I don't have that appeal with Elon Musk. I've never had that with
I
Elon
don't
Musk.
either. I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
either. I
point,
mean,
right?
I
So
have
it's
I
like,
have my
I'm
but I
not
can
quick.
I can still say I think he's the
Yeah. So because of my
Batman.
suspicions, I'm not quick to say he's Batman. He gives me Lex Luthor vibes, but he could be the Lex Luthor in the Red Sun movie, not
Mm.
the villain, but not either, right? He doesn't necessarily got to be Lex Luthor in the traditional universe. He could be the Red Sun Lex Luthor, which is I got to stop the commies and I got to stop Brainiac. How you went
Touche.
about it, suspicious, but you were doing it because you loved your country. So, right, like Amanda Waller.
With that analogy, I could agree.
Right. It's
With
like,
that one, I could agree. He's Lex
Oh.
Luthor from Red Sun.
so
But I do have to say, I am ready to. I'm so starving, and
I
I'm
know you're
having such a good
starving. I
time,
just
but
have
I'm
one more question for you, and then we could
sure.
head out. So we know the election is next Tuesday.
Yep.
What do you do November 6th, the day you wake up and Trump is the president?
Well, I go to
Oh, yeah.
work, so
She said, I go to work. Well,
hopefully
I'm going to work.
hopefully I'm at work having a cup of coffee, smiling, grinning like the Alice in the Wonderland cat, Bobcat grinning. That's who I'm hoping. What I'm hoping Wednesday is. If it's not Trump, which I highly doubt, but let's say it's not, God forbid. I will be getting up and I will be going to work and I will be preparing myself for the worst case scenario because that is where we would be headed. I mean, people think we're speaking in hyperbole or we're speaking too loosely about nuclear war. And I just think we're going to get there before Kamala can even take the oath. Like, I don't believe Kamala makes it to inauguration day. And I don't mean that's because someone's going to attack her, or assassinate her, or pull something like that. I just don't believe the world is going to make it that far. I do believe nukes are going to be going if she wins it because everyone knows she's weak. It's just not happening. So preparing for worst case scenario the very next day. I'm still at work, but preparing for the worst case scenario if she were to win. But that's what my day looks like Wednesday. I get up at 4. I have my coffee. I'm watching YouTube. I'm watching what are the news saying? What are the actual reports? Because the count won't be done.
Right.
We just know that. And then we know for all of November into December, all the way to January 6th, we're going to be fighting something because something wasn't finished. I mean, this is just what I expect the next day to be for me personally. What about you?
So okay, well, for me, if I wake up in the morning and it's exactly how it was in 2016, it'll be like when the Giants won, with the Giants in baseball. From you remember the parental guidance? The Giants win the pennant. That's how it's gonna feel if the Yankees. It'll be like if the Yankees win this World Series. It'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it happened. It's like
Donald Trump.
I believe it
It's like
because it makes sense.
it's
that we win.
weird. It's like
I'd be freaking thrilled. I'd be thrilled. I'd wake up the next morning. I already expect people to be like, wow, this is really happening again. It's like,
Oh,
yep,
man,
it's happening again. I'd be thrilled. I'd have my coffee. I would most likely be coming to my podcast and doing a video live talking about how awesome it is that Trump is the winner.
yeah.
I expect some
I
riots.
do intend to
I'm
go
not here in
live
Pennsylvania, but
Tuesday.
in Washington. I suspect that there's going to be some
Yeah.
things.
I actually I've subscribed to
um,
I'm subscribing to this new AI from Valuetainment. They actually have an election map. So we'll see if they're keeping up with the count. That's who I'm actually following
Well, I
starting
think you
today
and I
because
should,
again, some of the
um,
early voting I think started yesterday. So they
Right.
have some of the votes
Right.
available. So I like Valuetainment and their website, and their AI is kind of a little bit on it, less biased. So
Yeah,
I tend to
so-
be looking at them for early voting votes. And I'll be going live on Tuesday.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be going live on that as well.
Maybe not
It'll
as
be
long
nice.
as you, because I do got to get up in the morning.
True that, because it'll be on a Wednesday. I don't start
Tuesday
working with
into
my Tuesday to Wednesday. I don't start working with my clients until like not quite the afternoon, but it'll be about 11.
Yeah.
So because I have a later morning, I
Yeah.
probably can stay up as late as
Think of mine as like not the Kelly file, but the hour before Megan is
Yeah.
weird because she came on at 9. Tucker was 8.
Yeah. You're more like
That's
8
like
o'clock slot.
I'm the 8 o'clock slot.
That's
No,
right.
6 to 8. 6 to 8. I'm the
Okay,
Tucker.
well that's not bad. Yeah, because I do intend to go live on the election day. I do want to
Yeah.
go into the numbers. I remember watching it. This is before I
Yeah.
was doing the
I
podcast.
may go into 9 o'clock, but you already know that's my bedtime. I'm up at 4 a.m., folks. Gotta get some sleep.
Thank you so much for joining. I'm sure I know that the
Anytime.
viewers were really awesome. One of them said that you and I sound identical, which is hilarious because we're
I mean, you guys, we trick our parents and our
Over the
older
phone.
siblings
Crazy.
over the phone. They don't even know which one of us is talking. That's why
So it helps that
when
we're
we
a
were talking.
video podcast.
That's why we couldn't do an audio podcast together. You would think the host
Is talking to
host
itself.
as one is a schizo. You would totally think that.
Oh, word.
Like, is she
Tuffet
talking through?
said, "You
Did she just
do,
ask
you do."
herself?
Yeah,
Did
you
she
do.
just ask herself what she do today? Did she just an answer? That's what that is.
Word. We do sound a lot alike. Well, thank you so much for joining Twinster. It was awesome.
Anytime. I had
Awesome.
fun. It was so good, you guys. Remember, you guys can follow my stuff, Brazen Insights
Mhm.
with Asia. Subscribe. I'm on Instagram as Becoming Brazen USA, on X, Twitter, Asia Branch USA. Head to my YouTube channel, subscribe. I try to release an episode, if not every day, every other day, at least 2 to 3 times a week. And I do want you to hit the bell so you know anytime I go live. And yes, I will be going live on election day. Remember, I am the 6 to 8 o'clock slot. I am not up as late as Archie. She's the late night one. I am not. I'm old. I go to bed very early, and I don't care, and I don't feel ashamed.
I don't care. Oh, that's funny. I was going to say chatting with Asia, but realized instantly I do a lot.
Oh my
Awesome.
gosh.
Well, this was
Wait
awesome.
till you
Thank
guys hear us pull off a jinx. Y'all are going to love it.
It's going to be amazing. Well,
It'll happen one of these days.
one of these
Who knows?
days, because I don't think it's happened since I've been live with you. I don't think it's happened.
Nope. Not even when
Well-
you've been live on my show. It'll happen. Maybe it'll happen around Christmas, folks. You never know.
Maybe on the election day when we're all like, "Yay, Trump!"
We're all waiting for inauguration day. I'm like,
That'd be
how great would
amazing.
it be? Okay, last comment, and then I'm gone. How awesome would it be if at the inauguration Tom McDonald came out and sang "Bitch You Missed"? I mean, that's the perfect song. Just saying it.
That's all
It
I
may
need
not
to-
be uniting the
They got the
crazies.
left
and the
hand aim.
common
They got the right though right. Welcome to the home
I'm
of the
just
brave. You
saying.
wish it was dying.
Perfect
bitch, you
song for
missed.
everybody who's common sense.
Yeah, I
Everybody
remember
who's woke.
lyrics, guys. I memorized.
She said, "I'm."
But he
searching
had that
for
other song
plankton
called "Dear
costumes."
Rappers." He say some parts I agree with, some parts I disagree with. But he said, yeah, what did he say? You're living in the country that elected Donald Trump. You're living in the country where police are killing people every day, and all you want to talk about is doing drugs. You've been blinded by the money. You've been blinded by the cars. You've been blinded by the women. Don't know who the F you are. Thought I knew you when I spent $100 on your album. Now I feeling like you stole my effing money, and I'm broke.
You
Oh,
are a
thank you,
Tom
Tom
fan.
McDonald.
I
Big Tom fan. And Burden. I
Oh,
like Burden
gosh.
too.
do like Burton. I do like Burton. All right, you
Burden.
guys, I'm out. I'm gonna have myself some dinner. I will be watching the rest of your
sounds
live
good.
on my big screen. What did she say?
Oh,
Fill
all
Asia
right,
in
so
on
that
the
I'm
plankton
searching for
idea.
plankton
What?
costumes, fill you in. Okay, so before you leave, this is what we're planning on doing, right? Okay, so you know that Wendy's has the Krabby Patty special, right? Because
Yeah.
SpongeBob turned 25 this year. So
Right?
you know how in SpongeBob, Plankton was always trying to steal the Krabby Patty
The recipe.
for the secret sauce, for the secret recipe.
Wait.
So she's saying she's searching for plankton costumes, because that's the idea. We're gonna search for plankton costumes. And
Is she gonna go into a Wendy's and ask for the recipe?
for Halloween. It's gonna be great. I can't wait for that. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great.
Please record that, and please don't just post it to TikTok. They
Oh
spy
yeah, I'm
on us.
posting it to YouTube. I'm gonna post to the TVOP channel.
Thank
I'm
you.
probably gonna post to my YouTube channel because it's like, this is
Yes.
just gonna be fun. Have some laughs before an election. That's gonna be great.
Oh my god! Please
Perfect.
have Tessa dress up like SpongeBob and be like, "F is for friends who do stuff together."
Yeah, there you is. What did Plankton say? F is for fire.
for
That burns
friends.
down the whole town. U is for
U is for
uranium.
uranium
Bombs.
bombs.
Plankton votes for Kamala, just so y'all know.
Oh snap! U is for Ukrainian bombs. Yeah.
Even better.
Good.
Okay. Okay.
All right, I'm out, folks. I'm out.
You're
I'm done. I'm done. Bye, everyone. Thanks again. Brazen
So
Insights with
we all
Asia. Don't
think-
forget. So say we all.
So say we all.
And frack Kamala. So what I did there.
PSG Galactica. Word. Good job.
Bye, guys.
Laters. That was awesome. Tuppence, you're hilarious, but we should definitely do that. That's going to be great. And yet again, I still have to deal with this thing. Touchscreen is driving me crazy. Not driving crazy. I do love the touchscreen. It's just like, it's a lot. Okay, you guys. So we did cover, a lot of it was pretty much about the Kamala Harris thing. The election is coming up. We talked about the interviews that she has with Club Shay, what the numbers are looking like, what they're looking like with Kamala, and the interviews that she's been having, what the numbers are looking like as it relates to the early voting stuff. I can't wait for November 6th. I'll tell you, I'm definitely looking forward to there being no more political ads. That's for damn sure. That's one thing that I am counting on. I do suspect that Trump is going to win. The numbers are suggesting he is going to win. And I'm a numbers gal. I like numbers. I think that they are suggesting he's going to win. The early voting looks really good for him compared to 2020. It's way better. Lara Trump being in charge of the RNC and how we do the early voting rollout, how we do the mail-in ballots. I think all of that really matters strategically. I think that stuff matters. I will say, however, I am very much looking forward to as I continue this podcast after the election, we're going to start getting into the things that we were talking about at the beginning of this, which was our financial circumstances, right? What do we expect to see happening in the new year with the new president, with the new Congress? All those things are going to matter as we're talking about the policies and what we can do to compensate for a worse economy. If it's Kamala with a terrible Congress, if it's Trump, what we could look forward to as it relates to economic policies. I do think that as Americans, we do need to start paying attention to what really matters here. If you're the person who doesn't want to vote for Trump, but you have the opportunity to vote for your school boards, definitely do that because it matters. Votes do matter. I've heard so many people say voting doesn't matter, but it actually affects the school boards. Like I have a family member who is running for school boards and he lost by 14 votes. And that hurt the school district. And there were people in his community that were pissed because they wanted him to be in that role. And since he was out of it, guess what? It was making a lot of trouble for the young children that were going to those schools, wanting to make sure that these kids can read, getting a better education. Why does that matter? Because there are way too many people running around here in this country who don't know that Jackie Kennedy and Jackie Onassis are the same damn woman. It's kind of pissing me off that the first vice president of the United States was not a black man. No thanks to freaking Hamilton, the Broadway musical. Okay. George Washington was not a black woman. Don't pay attention to the remake of 1776. Okay. It's just not what it is. Entertainment wants to lie to us. They'll tell you that Lincoln freed the slaves because it was a morality thing, as opposed to looking at what was actually going on a geopolitical scale. These things matter. Understanding the history of our economy, understanding the history of our country, that matters. This isn't about wiping out history, banning books on a national scale where adults can't even get our hands on it. We need to start paying attention to those things and how this is going to affect our money. Young people are struggling. The elderly are struggling. Look at the policies. Vote your values. Kevin, comment from Kevin Ryan, Mouth Almighty. Didn't Lincoln work as a navigator? How many people actually know the answer to that question? But that's exactly my point. Yes, he did. He did. But that's like, right. This is exactly what I'm saying. These things matter. I am getting ready to cut off though, Kevin. Thanks for joining in the live stream. And thanks for getting into the comments. That's awesome sauce. Good to see you here. I think that when it comes to what happens in this next election, It matters. It does matter. If I can take votes from Kamala Harris, I think that's a win for us. The less people voting for Kamala, the better outcome we could possibly have. I think so. I don't know if you guys agree. We did see some disagreement in the comments earlier when I did say those things. But listen, I've not been able to convince the people in my family why they should vote for Trump. I've only been able to convince them why they shouldn't vote for Kamala. That is a win. They'll continue to vote for school boards because they know that matters. They actually pay attention to those policies. Presidency, federal government, they don't think it matters. They think everybody's evil when it comes to the federal government. I can't convince them otherwise. Tried in 2020, didn't work. Now I just tell them not to vote for the people who are just not good for the economy. You want cheaper gas? Maybe don't vote for Kamala. You want more affordable lifestyles? Maybe don't vote for Kamala. That's been working. That's been working. And I recommend anybody does it if you're talking to Black Americans, because really, we believe voting off of identity, voting for the Black woman. I don't think this broad is Black. I think she's Jewish. I think she's Irish. I think she's anything but Black. So, people will say that I'm wrong about that. I don't really care. You get in the comments and you let me know if you think she's Black. I don't really care. Frankly, I don't. We did the symbolic voting Black because we did that already. It was with Obama, and it's just, I'm over it. We've done it. I don't care. I don't need the first woman to be the president. I want a better economy. Okay. If money is a reason for war, it can create conflict within households and family members. And to be frank, because money is funny out here, change is strange, it's causing a lot of conflict. I've seen it. I've witnessed it amongst friends, family members. It's all over YouTube and TikTok videos, financial rants, college kids, just, hella dependent on their parents. And I get it. It's a lot. It's totally a lot. I can't wait for November 6th where we get no more political ads. I do intend to wake up and see Trump as the president of the United States, president-elect of the U.S. I think that these are going to be pretty amazing things to see as relates to his policies. I think if Kamala Harris is the president, expect more open borders, expect the loss of our sovereignty. I think it's a lot, and more or like we're going to be leading towards nuclear annihilation. All these things are on the ballot. The future of our country is on the ballot, right? That's really for you guys to decide. I can't tell you what to do. All I can do is just continue to give you my briefings on what I think, my opinions on what I think is going on here. And you guys enjoy and get involved in the conversation with me. And you let me know if you agree or disagree. And that's pretty amazing because it's not just me out here trying to have this conversation. I can't wait to no longer be talking about the election. I would love to be doing my podcast during a Trump presidency because that would be amazing, seeing how numbers are growing. That's going to be an awesome thing, So again, you guys can go ahead and you can subscribe and share this video when it's obviously able to share, but you can subscribe to the channel if you already haven't and share the video when you can to as many people as you possibly can so that we can increase these numbers and get past the algorithm. You can support the show by cash apping me at hashtag Arshel Branch. That link is going to be in the description top of the YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching. This was awesome. I love that my sister joined in on the live. That's always fun to do, having a conversation with my twin sister and other people. It's really cool to have those conversations because I tell you, it's been too long. I agree with her completely. These elections do last a very long time. And so it's been a while. We've been talking about Kamala Harris for a very long time. And even though I've been off for this past week, because I had a family emergency, I was trying to deal with all the clientele that I've been dealing with as a podcaster, producer, and a podcast engineer, working with my brother here at the Kingdom Cigar Lounge. There's been a lot piling on, and I have to get better at actually navigating the time and the scheduling and all of that. But again, you guys can support the channel by cash apping me at hashtag Arshel Branch. Get into the comments if you already have and let me know what you think about the conversation that was just had here. Because to be perfectly honest with you guys, I think the whole episode really was about Kamala Harris. Obviously, we know that. The differences between Kamala and Trump, why women have a hard time with President Trump. I mean, it's been a whole thing. I don't think she's getting any traction with men. She hasn't already. I don't think it's going to happen. The betting market suggests Trump is going to win. The polls are saying that they are tied, which suggests he's actually winning. The numbers look way better for him in early voting today compared to what they were in 2020 when it was him running against Joe Biden. And the difference between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is, she's not a plausible diversion the way that he was, not a moderate. That's obvious to us. And they didn't commit a coup that was so obvious, even to the left, because Biden is out, Kamala's in, and you didn't even get to vote for her if you were a Kamala fan. And that was quite obvious. People are not happy about that. And I do think Joe Biden voted for Trump just because he doesn't like Kamala Harris. I think that's a very big deal. I think that's something we really should consider in that regard. interesting to see. Fascinating, actually, quite fascinating. And I do think that moving forward, if they can commit coups in other countries, it's not surprising that they can do it here. This would be the second coup, to my knowledge, here in the United States. So, that's something. We have a comment from Arlene. Great conversation. It was. Thank you for being here, Arlene. It's good to have you here. It was a great conversation. My sister and I had a debate as to why women do not like Trump. We had a disagreement there, but all love here, and it's fun to have those conversations. So that was pretty awesome. I can't wait for this to be over. It's like, gosh, this is lasting forever. It's lasting forever. It's lasting forever, and it doesn't even feel like we're almost there, even though I know we are. It's like, it's next week, Tuesday. I can't wait to get to that day. I will be going live on that day, on the day of the election. So you guys can go ahead and get involved in that, be a part of the conversation. For that, post your numbers for sure. I want to see what you're seeing in your states, who you don't have to say who you voted for, but show me what the numbers are looking like, what you're seeing. If you saw any kind of coincidences happening in the numbers, and you know what I mean by coincidences, because I do want to be able to keep track so they know that we're not making this up when we see something going wrong here. I saw something go wrong in 2020. I saw something go wrong in 2022 as it related to the Arizona election when it came between Kari Lake and Katie Hobbs. There were problems in these elections. So I definitely want to be able to go live on that next Tuesday, just so we can share with each other what we are seeing. I intend to cast my vote, voting for Trump, voting for Rob Bresnahan, voting conservative. I'm looking for people who are wanting to contribute to making America's lives safer, better financially, and providing more opportunity. I don't think I'm getting that with the left. I don't think I'm getting that with Kamala Harris. I think anybody who's watching this show knows we're not getting that with the left. Can we spread that even more so to those who are trying to support her? That is a question. I don't think she's going to get any more men. I think she's lost that. It's over for her when it comes to the men. Her campaign is desperate. It's over. She chose Club Shay over Joe Rogan because she knew she was not going to get fawned all over, which we know Club Shay did. Why aren't you asking her tough questions? Well, how are you not pandering to black folk? What do you mean? She is pandering. Every time she gets in front of a black audience, she uses her black scent. Girl. Oh, I be in these streets. She's a second away from the head ratchet. I can't, people. Like I said in one of the previous episodes, she has me speaking Ebonics because of how ridiculous she sounds in some of these interviews. She won't answer tough questions. She has interviews. She'll ramble throughout these interviews, big gestures. This is what I mean. And I want to focus on Trump. The contrast is important, but you're not really answering any questions. We don't know what a great opportunity economy is, as Celine brought up earlier in the episode, in the live, saying that I don't know what an opportunity economy is. She hasn't really been clear on that. It wasn't clear after her debate with Trump. It's not clear in the interviews that she gives. It's not clear even on the rallies that she gives. With Trump, we know what we get. And then some. We get opportunity economies. We're getting the Platinum Plan, which is a spin on the Black American contract brought to us by Ice Cube. We know that women are going to do better financially. We know that more babies are going to be saved because he's not going to get in the way of the pro-life movement. I want to get in this because I want stronger economies. I want to be safe from nuclear annihilation. I want to be safe from illegal aliens and potential terrorists that have gotten into the United States. And I also like the idea that we can save babies along the way as well. We've already done that from the work in 2016 when he was able to do his work as the president. I want to continue that progress. I know that anybody who's watching this show definitely wants to do the same thing. So again, you guys, this is so weird touching the screen. I keep saying it, but you guys know how I feel about this. It's just weird. Subscribe to the channel if you already haven't, and you can share this video when you have the opportunity to as many people as you possibly can. Let's get these subscriptions up. Let's try to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers if you possibly can. You can also follow me on LinkedIn at Arshel Branch. You can follow me on Twitter at Archie_finance, and you can follow me on Instagram at Archie Financial. Again, you can support the channel by Cash Apping me by hashtag Arshel Branch. The link to the Cash App is in the description of the YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching. This was awesome. I had a good time. I hope you guys had a good time, and this was a great conversation with my Twinkster. That's what we call each other, Twinksters. We just do that. It's our whole thing. So, this was awesome. I look forward to speaking with you guys as soon as possible, because I do love this channel, love the podcasting, and the lives are fun. I might just get into doing the lives a little bit more as opposed to doing pre-recorded. I will get better at that. We will plan this a little bit better, but I did love this. This was a lot of fun. This was awesome. Thank you all for watching. You all have a good day. Oh, I have one more comment. Let me just address the comments first. Tuppence. Love you, fam. Awesome live. See you tomorrow. Definitely. See you tomorrow, Tuppence. See you all tomorrow, either live or pre-recorded. We shall see how that goes. But anyhow, thank you all for watching. You have a good night, a blessed night. May God bless you and Kepler. So say we all.